we are live. I didn't even check. Is audio hooked up? Audio might not be hooked up. Nope, it looks like we're good. Let me know if it's too loud and that you can hear me. I forgot to get some of the stuff I need. Okay, don't panic, Gibson. I know you hate these carts. Yep, and he panicked. I warned you. 65-pound pansy. Go lay down. The cart isn't going to murder you. You're fine now. You can lay down. You're safe. Okay, let's see. Okay, audio's live, video's live. Thanks, Joseph. Okay, so today I'm just working on the same paper that we've worked on for the last couple of weeks. Look, oh, by the way, here, get it on camera. Zombie snail sweatshirt. It's so soft and amazing, and I love it, and I need to come up with some new designs because I want more. I'm really like, I've been living in this sweatshirt for the last few days. I should probably wash this. That's gross. But like, I have clothes underneath, so it's just on top. Gibson, seriously, lay down, lay down, lay down, lay down. Hold on, I have to get my pansy dog to lay down. Gibson, oh God, there's a scary toy in it that he hates. There's your toy, Wade. Gibson, lay down. We've been back on Gibson thinks he's boss dog. If you've been around, you've heard me talk about this where he will, sighthounds have and I mean any dog can do this, but sighthounds have this very independent like nature and they want to be in charge, especially Gibson. Wade's not as bad. Gibson's worse. And he will start telling me when it's time to play, telling me when he wants me to feed it, telling me all the things. And some of you are like, all dogs do that. No, sighthounds have this thing where if you let them do it too much, they get to where they start having a tantrum when you don't do what they want. So like if you tell him to lay down, he'll scream. Like you'll just say, Gibson, lay down. And he will actually scream if you walk towards him while he... So we're in a thing of me having to use like me mom voice to make him be a good boy, huh? He's actually an amazing dog, but it's a typical thing. It's very common with sighthounds with that. Like, I think I'll be in charge now and tell you what to do. So we're in one of those time phases or time, whatever. I can't talk. Daniel said, hi, Lisa. Great to see you again. Hi. Okay, so before we get started, we'll let a couple more people catch it up, but you don't, like, obviously these are from our previous projects. You can follow along with this just from, on its own project. Like it doesn't need to be a part of this collage. I just figured I've got this whole piece of paper. This is the Canson Mi-Teintes and gray. They have a pad. Do I have them down here? I don't. With multiple shades of like charcoal gray. I think there's a black in there. There's a whole bunch shade ranging from really, really dark all the way to really light. And it's amazing. And I kind of don't want to waste it. So I started just putting together, decided we'll make a collage every week. I'm just going to add more to it, but it can be a standalone. You don't need to, have it set up the way that I do. This wasn't really planned out initially. So for the clownfish, these are actually my personal clownfish. I've got a Black Storm and a Picasso, fitting, right? But they are, I love them. That's who I'm drawing. They're considered designer. And I say designer because I hate that term, but they are color morphs essentially, where we've bred them into being kind of like what we do with dogs, where we breed into certain colors or certain characteristics. So that is what these guys are. And the cool thing about this one is I'm going to show you how in this case, I needed his face to be white and I want it on top of the grape. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I have two methods that I use. One is far more successful than the other. So I'll kind of do a little bit of both. And there we go. I have a mess. I'm seriously not ready. Hold on one second. I don't even have the right kind of paper towels over here. If you are unfamiliar, when you work with odorless mineral spirits, God, I love this wireless mic that I can talk to you guys when I'm across the room. But when you work with odorless mineral spirits, you don't want to use a regular paper towel to dry off your brush. You want to use a Viva paper towel, V-I-V-A, or an old t-shirt or a rag, but not a normal paper towel like the OMS. They don't play nice together. It just kind of soaks in a weird, unpleasant manner. So yeah. Erica said, so happy you're using mid-tone paper. It's my favorite. Yeah, it's growing on me. Like I'm really getting to where it's just such a good base. It's such a good start. Like not too dark, not too light. I can still get my lights to show up, especially with my touch-up texture titanium white mixture from Brush and Pencil, which is what I'm going to be using here. Actually, while we're sitting here talking, I should get that shaken up. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. So there are two things that I'm going to do on this to get his face. Oh, I don't even have my reference photo pulled up. There we go. Seriously, really running late today. Now, if you're using, and you don't need this right now because most of you are probably not doing the same thing I am where it's overlapping onto the grape, but I need to cover that. And if you're going to use this, I don't know if you can see there's this sediment at the bottom where it settles. We want to make sure that you're going to shake this bottle until it is all the way, like completely mixed in. If you are unfamiliar with this product, I have videos showing you how to use it. This is how I typically will get fine details and white highlights. You paint it on. But in this case, I need to cover that grape. Part of it, again, I can cover. I'm going to show you how I'll do that, but we'll get this shaken up now. Let's see. Sergi said, YouTube's must have sensed the betrayal, got no notification for none. They don't notify by anyone anymore. YouTube, this is why, like, you'll see my numbers are down. A lot of people's numbers go down. They don't send out notifications, and they used to send out emails. So this is YouTube. See, this is what happens when people just don't think things through. They look at the right now and they don't look at the cause and effect. Like, how is what this decision right now going to affect later on down the road? So like with YouTube, they recently decided, they sent out an email to the creators saying, we're no longer going to email your subscribers to let them know when you have a new video going up. We find that no one's even opening these emails, so it's really not worth it. Okay, geniuses at YouTube didn't think that through. When I get an email that somebody I follow went live, I just go straight to the YouTube app. That email, I may not open it, but that doesn't mean that it didn't serve a purpose, that it didn't serve the intended purpose. So YouTube just doesn't think a lot. It's just typical in this world. No one freaking thinks anything through. Like if A happens, that sounds great. It makes sense. No one's opening these emails, so we shouldn't send them out. Think it through. It's just frustrating that people, like, it's not that hard. People cannot be this stupid. Anyway. Only sanded paper. I am not using sanded paper today. Let's see. Jason said, do you have everything ready for today? No, do I ever? I definitely do not. Let's see. Victoria said, hi, Lisa. How you doing? I'm doing good, besides running late. What do you think about using black colored pencils with graphite pencils? Good idea or not really? Because with 6B from Sedler, I can't get enough dark. You're going to be working at that point, that is mixed media. There's nothing wrong with mixed media if you like that look, but it is mixed media. Now, colored pencil and graphite, I do use them together, but if I do, like graphite has its zone and colored pencil has its zone. I'm not overlapping one over the other. They don't stick to each other real well. So play around with it. You may love the result. I don't, not for black for making it dark because it's obvious. It doesn't look like graphite. It doesn't just look like darker graphite. So an alternative, like if I was going to do that to make it darker, I would actually just use carbon pencil. Not my favorite again, because you're talking about a matte finish, so it's very obvious it's not the same as graphite. But here's the thing. When you get into mixed media, just because I don't love it, and they're compatible, so you're not running into archival issues, test it, because you may get results that you're like, this is amazing and I love it. Just because I don't, like, it's not my favorite doesn't mean that you're not going to think it's the best thing that ever happened to you. So I would test it out. As far as being archival, not a problem. They can be used together, but they don't like layer on top of each other well. So just keep that in mind. Hi, Chris. George. Oh, come back, George. Where did you go? Come back. George said, it's tea time for me anyway. I look forward to the clownfish. I finished my monkey painting yesterday. Nice. Joseph said, I blame the bell. I remember well when subscribing meant you got every notification, all the good old list. Yeah, YouTube's like, we're going to put a few more hoops. Like, if you subscribe, you're going to get notifications. So people subscribe. Then they're like, no, but now we have a bell. Like somebody invented a cool new toy and they wanted everyone to use it. So now there's a bell and now you're going to get notified. Why can't I just be notified of the stuff I said? What? So yeah. Aiden said, I don't know what you're saying. TK said, I'm trying a special colored pencil blender for the first time today while watching. Motive is from, I don't know, Gibby Studio. Have you any tips on how to try a new medium out? Experiment. Don't go into it expecting everything to be perfect. I think that is going to be the big thing, is just experiment and see how it goes. And don't get frustrated, because when you're trying a new medium, it's a new medium. You've got to play with it. You've got to make some mistakes in order to find something cool, to like figure out how to work it out. I think we live in a world where everyone just expects to win. I'm going to blame it on the whole everyone gets a trophy thing. We didn't teach kids that you're going to lose. You need to lose. You need to be able to fail sometimes. That is how you're going to succeed. Like, those failures are important. And that is so true in art. You need to be able and be willing to fail in order to succeed. So when you're trying a new medium, You're going to be failing across the board. Don't let it discourage you. Just keep trying different things. So that's my big thing. When you're trying a new medium out, don't get hung up on it needs to be perfect. I can't lose this. Like I can't be a failure in this project. Yes, you can. Go make some ugly paintings so you can figure it out. That's how you're going to learn and how you'll become amazing. Alana said, I got the notification half an hour before, but I clicked the bell and selected all. Oh, nice. I'm sure they'll change it and make more hoops for everyone to jump through. Sergio said, so I'm working on a big graphite portrait on Fabriano Artistico 300 paper. I love it so much more than the 140 version. Did you try that paper for colored pencil? I did. I still have some of it here. I have the older version here. Yeah, it's good. It's just thicker. So, I mean, I like it. I liked it better before they changed it. That's for sure. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, because I need to get this set to where it starts to dry. This is the Faber-Castell Perfection Eraser. Conejo, if any of you guys remember Conejo, I talked to him on the phone the other day. He was saying they don't have the Borracha pencils anymore. That is the green ones you often see me use. So here's the cool thing. He didn't know this. These are the Lapis Borracha. I apologize because I know that's in Spanish and I am probably butchering it. So sorry. But these ones, it's the same thing. This is just the one that you're going to get now. These ones are the Perfection Eraser. Both are Faber-Castell. The Perfection Eraser has the little brushy guy at the end. Pretty handy. So anyway, kind of a fun thing there. So what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to erase the grape on this area. I'm going to let as much of that paper as exposed as possible. However, I am not pushing hard. Don't push hard on this. You will, you can burn right through that paper. You can really mess that up. So do not push hard on that. We're going to come back through here. Now, this area, I have one of two things I can do. One is I can just start layering white colored pencil, and I would use the Derwent Drawing Chinese White because that's going to be the most opaque. I could just start adding that in there. I'm kind of working around his eyes so I can keep that line in there. But I could go through and put that on, and this is going to cover a lot, especially because I'm erasing this. What's happening is I'm exposing the tooth of the paper a lot by removing some of that pencil. So as much as you're looking at that going, well, I don't really see a difference. What will happen, let's see how much this will cover. Just to give you guys an idea. I don't have it over here. Hold on 1 second. Have I mentioned lately how much I love this wireless mic? Let's see. Whoop, knocking stuff over. So if I take my Derwent Drawing Chinese White, drink some coffee while I'm at it. Hold on, do I need to check any of this? Just double checking. Nope, I'm good. It was something about my dog food. Okay, so when I go on top with the white, look at how well that covers it. So really, I don't need to go over this with the touch-up texture titanium white. This is actually going to lighten it up just fine. So I may choose to be lazy, and I'll just use the touch-up texture titanium white mixture, I think, for the highlights over this. But look at how well that covers. Now, if I were to have gone just straight over the grape, I'm just going to mix kind of a lighter version of the grape. It's not going to get very white. And to an extent, that's what's happening here. I actually need purple in here anyway, so I think what I'm going to do is just leave it like this and then go over it with the touch-up texture titanium white at the end when I want those brighter highlights. Now, the other thing that you could do is if you didn't want to deal with the eraser, you're not getting enough tooth, that the pencil's just not sticking, I can throw things, but I can make my touch-up texture titanium white mixture with this stuff. There, let's see if it will focus on it. But I mix that with the titanium white powder, and I can paint that over it, let it dry, and then I put my pencils on top of it. So let's say I wanted that to be yellow. I'm never going to get that super bright yellow, but if I did this with the white, this is one, adding tooth back to the paper, so the pencil's going to stick well to it anyway. But two, I'm adding that white base so it's opaque, and then it'll stick to it. So this is, those are my two methods to really get that to stand out. And I'm going to want some really bright white on these guys like I did with the flower here at the end. So I'm going to save that, I think, for that. So one of the things I'm loving about some of the new products like this for colored pencil, it makes the medium so much more forgiving. Colored pencil was one of those things like you had to have it very, very planned out in the beginning and you couldn't change your mind. Like something like this, I couldn't go back years ago. If I changed my mind and decided I wanted that clownfish face to go over the grape, I wasn't going to get as good of results as what I'm going to get today but these new, like this is amazing. And you may be thinking, well, can I use a gel pen? Can't I just use acrylic paint? No, they're not archival. This is the only archival product to go on top of a wax or oil-based colored pencil that is going to work for you. So, I think I have it linked in the video description. I should. If not, I've got videos about them. Now, another thing I want to throw out there, being that we are at the beginning of the video, is that this is an art chat. These are not like if you're looking for just a straightforward tutorial, and I will be giving you tips as we go today, but if you're looking for a straightforward tutorial where I'm not rambling about my tree frogs or my dart frog or my dog's thinking he's in charge, yeah, I see you looking at me. You're not the boss of me. But if you're not interested in that stuff, in patreon.com/Lachri, $4 a month gets you access to all of my just straightforward tutorials. Those are going to probably be a better fit for you if you don't like the chat. These videos here, these live streams, we're just chatting and hanging out. It's my opportunity. It's kind of like, it's a work day for me, but it's a fun day because I get to hang out with you guys. It's like hanging out with friends. And that's what this is. So I will be rambling about anything you guys really want to talk about, except politics. We don't go there. So anyway, that is, just want to throw that out there because inevitably I get somebody commenting, you talk too much. Yeah. Be glad you're not married to me. My husband has to deal with this all the time. Let's see. Okay, let's get caught up on some questions here. And then we're going to get started. Jason said, what is perfect? There has to be a lot of artistic expression. How do you determine perfection? I don't aim to achieve perfection. So maybe that's makes it easier for me. Like I don't plan on hitting that. So I don't have the pressure. Maybe that is an important part of being an artist is not, you want to make things look good and it's to the best of your ability, but nothing needs to be perfect. Close is usually, when you get in this mindset of everything needing to be perfect, I think that's what really holds a lot of artists back. Nothing's really going to be perfect. So I don't think there is perfect. Let's see. Oh, Aladdin had said, my English is bad, but what I tried to ask was how to keep acrylic wet. So I'm French. I'm French. Well, distantly French. Anyway, on my mom's side, Delta Fine Mist Sprayer. This, if you mist this as you're working over your acrylics, or just any ultra fine mist sprayer, this is going to keep the paint wet so you have time to blend. This is what I go with, or an airbrush. My airbrush is going to give me a finer, more even mist. This, I can get some heavier water droplets, but they're not that big of a deal. A normal spray bottle, like that I spray my plants with, actually sometimes I'm lazy and I just use this, but the normal like spray bottle, the water droplets are too big. So it has to be an ultra fine mist sprayer. So that is what I use to keep them wet. Daniela said, what paper would you recommend for pan pastels and polychromos mixed media besides brush and pencil Lux archival sanded paper? So the sanded paper, obviously, first. I used them on the Canson Mi-Teintes on the rough side. They were good. It worked. You have to spray the Spectra Fix a little bit more, fungus gnat. That's what happens when you have too many plants in a room. But you have to spray the spray. That's not coming out right at all. Words are hard. See, look, I fit my t-shirt today. Words are hard. You have to spray the Spectra Fix, I did it, a little bit more often I found because the product keeps falling off the paper as you're layering that way. It doesn't stick as well. That would work. I've not used the Pastel Matte, should work. I've just not used it myself. So those are the ones that I personally have experience with. I can't say like that there is or isn't another paper that also would be good. Those are just the 3 that I've used. No, wait, 2 that I've used, 1 that I've been suggested to use. I just haven't done it yet. Let's see. Wade, are you having dreams? Wake up. He's panting in his dream, like breathing heavy. I think he's running in his sleep. Daniela said, okay, got that one. Jason said, Lisa, you live in Texas. Learn the 2nd most common language in the state. Is it redneck? Is redneck the answer? Like hillbilly? I think that should be the answer. Let's see. Sergio said, back to my Fabriano Artistico 300 comment. You might want to order a sheet of the new one. Feels so good under my pencil. Like next level arches. Interesting. I might have to try that. Also, 24 new luminance colors. Yeah, I still need to order those for sure. I may go ahead and pick that up then, Sergio. I think I'll give it a try. I have the old one, but I know the new one would be the new batch. I am curious to see what difference there would be. Kim said, hi, Lisa. I really enjoy these chat sessions. I'm listening today while I work on my latest cat portrait in pastel pencils. Nice. Skylar said, I get scared of failing, messing up as long as I can as long as I can remember. When I want to just jump into my first job without extra help, my mom said, no, don't want you to fail. Let me fail. Yes, exactly. And I think that's the thing. It was so many parents, I may as well, no, I think I'll use my polychromos white. So many parents, I think they're too protective of their kids, and we need to let them fail. We need to, like, I was listening to a skateboarder who was talking about this, and he was saying, you know, knowing that you're going to fail is what will make you good. Like, that helps you to succeed. You need to know you're going to fail. Like, it's going to happen. And it's the same with art. Like, it was kind of funny listening to, I'm like, hey, that is exactly how it is in art. But you can't get in this this mindset that you're afraid to fail. It's like, we were talking a couple of weeks ago about my brother-in-law. Somebody had brought up, like, they didn't like that some people could be more rich than others or whatever, which I don't agree with. I absolutely think you should be able to, like, freedom. But anyway, we were talking about my brother-in-law, and he's very wealthy. But the amount of times that he's failed. His businesses have failed, and he lost everything and had to start over. Like, you have to be willing to take that risk in order to succeed in anything. Like, that's just the thing. And I think we've raised so many kids to think that there's going to be no failure. We're going to avoid all pain. We're going to avoid, like, no, it's going to happen. It's a part of it. I'm going to put some glassine here so I can rest my hand, because I'm probably going to end up framing this and keeping it on my own wall when I'm done. I didn't plan on that, but the more I work on this, the more I'm starting to like this piece. So I'm just using my polychromos and going over this. And I'll be blending. The whites aren't going to stay just white. I'll be putting some purple. Actually, on mine, I'll probably put more magenta. The photo has more bluish purple. I, as it turns out, cannot take pictures of my fish to save my life. Like, they were all blurry. I tried with my good camera. I don't know what settings to use. Like, I did not get good photos, but good enough for this. Let's see. Where were we? Sorry, I've got to scroll back up. There we go. Kimberly said, people rescuing animals from danger videos are intentionally putting them in danger for views. Yeah, I've heard that, where people are, it's like a whole setup thing where it's not even, yeah, and I've seen, there was one guy was showing, I watched a video a while ago, and he was taking, and it was clear because these animals, he was going through and saying, the video went viral, and it was like, I'm finding all of these sea creatures in the sand. Like, I just know where to dig and find a random sea creature. But they were sea creatures who wouldn't have been in the sand. Like, he had to have gone out in the water, got them, brought them, buried them so that he could pull them out in the video. And it was infuriating. Like, who does that? That is so weird to me. Like, if you're going to interact with animals, don't hurt them in the process or stress them out as much. Like, no, just stop. Let's see. Jason said, I still can't get the spray bottle. How come? Sarah said, I like Salvador Dali's quote, have no fear of perfection, you'll never reach it. Yes, that is like goosebumps. Like, I got goosebumps just reading that, because it's so true. That is exactly, and we need to get that in our head, because when we're so worried about being perfect, we're not willing to make mistakes, and that means we don't learn. Like, every single painting I do, there are a crap ton of mistakes. That's a part of the process. It's okay, and then I fix them. Or I don't fix them and decide, good enough. That happens too. So I'm not pushing very hard here. I don't want to damage the tooth of the paper. Just keeping light layers. She's got her little, looks like little face tattoos. She's in a clownfish gang. Let's see. Victoria said, I'd like to know what you think about hyperrealism. I caught myself staring at artworks from that style and then comparing saying, I'm not good enough. Hyperrealism, that takes a lot. It takes a lot of time to learn, and it takes a lot of time just to do. Like, that's kind of the thing with hyperrealism, is that it's so realistic. You can't tell the difference between that and a high definition photo. I have so much respect for those who do it. I don't have the interest in putting that kind of time into the work. Like, I enjoy looking at it. I don't think I would enjoy creating it. Like, any of us can get to that point. It just takes practice and time. I'm pretty content with just photorealism works for me. Hyperrealism, though, it's amazing, but it's not, I don't know. I think I enjoy the the artwork looking more like artwork. So it's not, I don't see myself aiming to reach hyperrealism. And I say aiming to reach like it means it's better than. No, it's more time consuming for sure. But it's not something that I'm interested enough to put the level of time you would have to commit to one single piece to do. I respect those who do it. I think it's amazing, but it doesn't look like fun to, like, I just don't think I would enjoy it. Like art, so much of it is just enjoying the process for me. And that, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll change my mind someday. But right now, I would rather enjoy the work that other people did and not put that level of work into one single piece myself. So this little one, the smaller one, is my male. Clownfish are very interesting in that the dominant fish, whoever is the boss fish, the bigger fish, she got bigger because she was a female, but she is, so one's an ocellaris, one's a percula. So they're percula, or we call them false perks. The ocellaris would be the false perk. And then we've got the true percula. The true perks, they're jerks. They tend to have bigger attitudes. And so they're going to typically be more dominant. Both clownfish, they're very similar. They can interbreed. A lot of people, you'll see in forums like, oh, they can't go together. Yeah, they can. That's not. If they're not getting along, it's not because of being a true or a false perk. So anyway, that is kind of an interesting thing there. And so she is the dominant one, although he's been getting an attitude. The dominant fish will turn into the female. And let's say you have a whole colony of clowns, like you'd have to have a really big tank to do that, but like in the wild where they're in a colony. When the female dies off, whoever the next male is at any age can turn into a female. So like the guy, there's a food that I use called rods, I think it's just rods. It's a frozen food that I feed them. And he had a breeding pair of clownfish. He said he had them for like 30 years. And when the female died, he gave the male a new buddy, and the male turned into a female, and the new buddy stayed the male. Like, it's really kind of an interesting thing with them. So yeah, these guys, this little one that I'm working on right now, this is my male. We call him Boop Nose because he's got like the little black boop on his nose. And this little white dot on his fin is because when he was younger, like tiny, he was so tiny when I got him, he went to sleep on the sand bed because they go to sleep and they'll like lay down somewhere. He went to sleep on the sand bed and a crab came and grabbed him and was pulling him off by his fin. That's what that's actually from a damaged spot because one of the hermit crabs was like, oh, free food. I had to save him. He couldn't wake. He was weird. Like he couldn't wake up all the way. And so he'd kind of swim and then lay back down and the crab's like, okay, going to get my meal again. He's been fine ever since. But that's why he's got this little white patch on that fin. Didn't used to be there. That's from damage. Random facts about my clownfish. Let's see. Oh, I'm really out of behind on comments. Hold on one second. Oh my gosh, I'm really far behind. Here we go. Jana said, yes, my 5-year-old said he isn't good at drawing. I told him it's okay. He needs to practice. And that when I started drawing, I wasn't very good, but I practiced lots. Yeah, my mom thought I was mentally or developmentally challenged, we'll say, because my drawing when I was a kid was always like, I always drew a rainbow and wrote on, I was in like kindergarten and first grade, this every day, kindergarten, first grade, I came home with a new one. This is a picture of a rainbow that the teacher would help me write out and a drawing. That's all I did. So my mom thought that I was not progressing mentally the way that I should. My drawings were not good. So, you know, anyone can start there. Jason said the response, Donnie said, that would look good in your hallway going into your art studio. Yeah, I don't think this is big enough for the hallway. This would be a small piece. I think it'll end up either in my office or in the art studio. Probably. Jason said the response was to the reading the name on the pencil and not saying it right. Isn't Spanish the second language? Oh, I don't know if we have an official like second language here. I have no idea. I don't look that far into things. I know I can't speak Spanish. I do not possess that skill, unfortunately. I took Spanish in high school. I did not do well. Jason said, I have not been able to get to Dick Blick's, and that was the place I saw it last. Angel said, what's a good steakhouse, Lisa? I don't know what's good. I'm not like a foodie person. I don't really care that much. We used to go to Saltgrass a lot, but now that I like am restricting my calories, I'm definitely not eating there. But Saltgrass was where I was going a lot, and I really liked them. But I'm not sure what other people consider good. Like, I don't know it's a chain. So it's not, I'm sure there are better ones that, Bob's was good. Bob's is really good. Let's see. I'd ask you for tips to paint metal objects for my steampunk painting, and they helped a lot. Oh, yay. Thank you so much. I'll post tomorrow on Instagram and tag you. Oh, good. I can't wait to see it. Angel said, you can achieve hyperrealism with an airbrush, Lisa, but hyperrealism pieces are cheaper than Picasso paintings. No, okay. Yes, you can achieve hyperrealism with any medium, honestly. If done right, you can. I don't think there is a medium that you couldn't achieve it. Well, maybe a few, but for the most part, you can achieve it with any medium. It's easier if you work larger, so you can get the details in there. I'm just blocking in or mapping out my lights and darks right now. I'm not worried about shading. We'll get to that. I need a black. So there we go. And now I need an orange. That, I think I'm going to go with Caran d'Ache Luminance for the orange because I don't think my polychromos is going to be bright enough. Anyway, what was I rambling about? Hyperrealism's cheaper than Picasso. Well, Picasso's very established. Picasso, you're paying for a Picasso, like that is a famous artist. The hyperrealists haven't developed that level of fame for themselves, that level of, their reputation. So it's not an issue. I think a lot of times people mix up cause and causation. Like they blame something for the wrong thing. Like one of the examples I always use is somebody breaks into your house and you shoot them. They're like, you shot me because I'm wearing a blue shirt. No, I shot you because you broke into my house. Yes, you're wearing a blue shirt, but that had nothing to do with like how that works. You can tell I'm from Texas that's all my constant example. But a lot of people they're like, oh, well then Cubism must sell for more than hyperrealism because Picasso sells for that much. No, Picasso sells for that much because Picasso was Picasso. You're buying the name. That is a huge part of that. So we assume that, oh, well, this style doesn't sell for as much. Well, that artist has not built up their reputation like the next artist over. And that's such a big part of art is the artist's reputation. You have plenty of artists who are phenomenal and they can't sell their work because they didn't build up a reputation. They didn't do the business and marketing side of art. So you can't just assume like, oh, this style won't sell for as much as that style. It's not necessarily, and that it may play a role, but it's not necessarily the style as much as it is the artist and the reputation that artist built for themselves. Sergio said, regarding the eraser pencils, Derwent released some of the new ones. I had such a good experience with them lately, and I think you have seen my artwork in the group I did with them. Was it the charcoal? Was it yours, the charcoal? I don't remember now. I need to look into that, though. What texture do you think for charcoal drawing? I have some cold pressed watercolor paper. On one side is smooth, but too much or too little texture is hot pressed better. I don't really use watercolor much for charcoal. I really like the Canson Mi-Teintes, and I use the rough side normally. You can use either, but usually I'll go with the rough side of the Canson Mi-Teintes as my choice for charcoal, but that's going to be personal preference. I think in your case, what I would recommend, try working on both sides and see which side you like better. It's like the old Fabriano Artistico. I think the new is the same way. You have the front and the back. There's no right or wrong answer there. It's which way you prefer working. So that is what I would suggest there, is to try both and see what you personally like. I wouldn't think hot press would be great just because it doesn't have a lot of tooth. So that would be my concern there. I don't use watercolor paper for charcoal, so I can't give you like a ton of firsthand experience other than you generally want it to have a little bit more tooth for the pencil or the charcoal to stick to. Alana said, art is so subjective. I have posted so much realistic art, but it wasn't until I posted my almost abstract palette knife painting that my cousin goes, I need a piece like that. See, exactly. And yay, that's awesome. But no, that's totally true. It just depends on what people like. I mean, I had There was an animal hospital that was local to me when I had my Italian greyhounds when they were younger, and I was still a very starving artist. You guys see that fungus ant flying by? But I did a trade for artwork for them for custom work and for my dogs to be spayed and have their dental work done. And they actually requested, they wanted colored pencil, which is funny because that's actually kind of the opposite, but they assumed that the colored pencil would look more like art. And they said my work looked like photographs, and they wanted people to know they had art on their walls, not just photographs of dogs. So that was kind of interesting that I had someone specifically say, we don't want it to look so realistic. So it definitely, you're right. It is super subjective. And this is going to look flat like a cartoon, because I just need to map out where my lights and darks are going to go. And that when we start in with the shading, adding the purples and the violets, it's going to make a huge difference. So don't be scared when you get to this stage and you're like, wow, this looks absolutely terrible. It's okay. He's got the little hairs around around her gills there. I'm not going to include that yet. Her fin is kind of flopped over. Now, one of the things that I recommend everyone do really, when you are painting or drawing fish, don't only get angles straight from the side. Here, she's turning. That's why you don't see the back end of her. It's behind her. She's turned. Make sure you're getting some different angles in your pieces or your subjects, because it looks really weird when Wyland was notorious for this, when all of the fish are sideways. Like it's a little too staged. It doesn't have that natural, like you're looking in the water at all the fish. Get some different angles in there. Nick said, I like how this is evolving into a surrealistic piece on its own. Yeah, it's kind of fun. And this is actually how I design my surreal stuff. It's all really just a collage. Like, I don't get too crazy thinking about like the design. It's just, I pick a few subjects I want to include together and I just make a collage. Every single surreal piece I do, that's really what it is. Kimberly said, Build-A-Bear stores give me war flashbacks. I never associate that place with happiness. That is the most random comment ever. I'm sorry. Jason said, where is the tartar sauce for the fish? You are not eating my fish. See, this is why you're not allowed to name my animals. You're trying to eat the fish. You associate them all with food for some reason. Let's see. Lori says, Boob has battle scars. So cute. He does. And he actually has a little deformity on his mouth. Right above his nose, like right in here, there's a slight deformity on him, which is fairly common. So here's the thing, and this is where some people will argue they don't like the idea of the color morphs on the clownfish. Some of them get so extreme, and in order to get the really extreme colors, they do a lot of inbreeding, and so you do get a lot of deformities. However, in the wild, if a fish was born, you naturally would have fish in the wild being born with deformities. They just typically don't, they naturally get cold. And in fish keeping, we oftentimes keep fish alive that in nature wouldn't have made it. So in his case, I don't know if he would. He seems to do fine. He eats fine. He needed smaller food for a while. It was almost like his mouth didn't open quite right. But so people will argue if it's ethical or not to be inbreeding, because that happens. And it's like, yeah, but that happens in the wild too. It's just in the wild, he wouldn't have lived. So, I won't be breeding. Well, inevitably they will most likely start breeding, but I won't actually be raising the fry. I would let them be, they'll just be fish food. I just got a bunch of thumbs downs, didn't I? When I had my cleaner shrimp, I need to get some new ones of those. They exceeded their life. They finished their lifespan, but they would breed constantly, and breeding, trying to keep baby cleaner shrimp alive is nearly impossible. Like, it's a very hard breeding thing. You have to have a very special setup so that they end up being food for the fish would eat them. So nothing's going to waste in that fish tank. But yeah. They have, he gets the deformity there, and they're breeding, and I don't like these ones. They breed these long fin clownfish, and to me, they look like wannabe beta clownfish that went through the blender. Their fins are so screwed up. Like, they're not pretty. You rarely see a pretty one. If you look up long fin clownfish, you'll see what I'm talking about. But they have a tooth on the bottom. I think it's the bottom one that will stick out. It's really common because the amount of inbreeding they did to get them to look that way. Like, they're pretty severe on there. I don't think they're pretty. Random fish facts. Danelle said, what part of Texas are you in? I am north of Dallas. Alden said, dinner time here in Paris. Wish I order same set as you. What brand is this? These right now I'm using mostly polychromos, but I'll be using a combination of polychromos, my Derwent Lightfast, and my Caran d'Ache Luminance. Starving Artist Collective said, just joined Instagram to follow you and a couple of other artists. Your content is nice, but boy, oh boy, what a cesspool of show-offs on that platform. Old fart here, I guess. Yeah, the Instagram is weird. The selfie aspect of Instagram gets weird with how some of the, like, this is one of the things that I never understood where it's like you'll see some of and I think it's awesome. And I've talked about this before. It's good to include yourself with your work. It's good to put yourself out there. But some of the pictures I'm seeing the girls and I'm like, wait, is this more about how do I word this? And like, I don't want to mean to sound too judgy. I mean, wear what you want to wear, but it's like you're getting more attention for your figure than you are for your artwork. Like everything is hanging out. I don't even see the artwork in that photo. Like, it's kind of interesting, some of the stuff I've seen on Instagram, but I'm like, that's not, I want to see your artwork, not your hoo-ha. So yeah, there's some interesting stuff on there. Angel, who's next? Angel said, where would you archive your paintings, say, like, for the next generation? Do you put a price on it? Where would you archive? I don't even know how to answer that. Do you put a price? I'm not really sure what you're asking, Angel. I'm not sure how to answer that. Jason said, Picasso did a lot of different types of art. He had ceramic studio and he had students who learned to do his style and worked under his guidance. Yes, he did. Sarah said, also, just the fact that he's dead means Picasso's work will probably be more expensive than that of a living artist. So see, here's the thing. That whole, it's not worth anything till you're dead, it's kind of a myth. It's, yes, in the sense that artist can no longer create any more art. So what's out there is out there. There is that. So there is some truth to it, but not completely. A lot of it is just that, like, at the time, for many artists, when they were alive, they were most of the artists who did groundbreaking or what was considered groundbreaking work weren't popular when they were alive because, like, they were ahead of their time. It wasn't until later on people were like, oh, that artist is really good. And then everyone's trying to get it. And there's not very, as much as they want because the artist can't produce more because they're gone. So it's not just this attitude of the artist is no longer here and that's why their work makes more. There are plenty of artists who have passed on and their artwork is not worth crap. So it's not like, that's definitely something that I don't completely, like, there's some truth in it, but not that much. Like, there's way more to it than that. Sergio said, I did a colored pencil eye with Derwent Lightfast and blended with OMS, which, I learned from you and still preaching about it to anyone who asks me about my technique. Nice. Let's see. How would you rate the Derwent Lightfast versus Luminance and Polychromos? I apologize if you already answered this, just came in. It depends on what you're doing. Like, there's certain things that I like certain brands more for. Like, if I want something to be sharper detail, like really, really sharp detail, or more translucent, Polychromos. If I need something to be more opaque and blend out more smoothly, I'm going to go with either my Derwent Lightfast or my Caran d'Ache Luminance. Those are going to be they have a higher wax-based content, which is funny because the Derwent Lightfast is listed as oil-based. To me, in practice, they feel in the middle they're like a nice combination of wax and oil. They're kind of the best of both worlds. I couldn't rank them like, this one's ranks number 1, number 2, number 3, because it depends on what I'm doing. It completely depends on what I'm doing. So for my base layers here, I'm using my Polychromos. I could really use anything for these base layers. Now I'm going to go over this. Now that I've got everything blocked in, I'm going to put another layer. I need multiple layers before I ever blend out with OMS. So you'll often hear people say they don't like blending with odorless mineral spirits because when they blend it, it makes everything look dull and it loses their color and it doesn't look like what they want it to look like. The thing is, they didn't have enough pigment on the paper. It wasn't that the OMS doesn't work. Obviously it works. You see tons of artists using it and getting great results. So and that's something that you want to keep in mind too. little side right here. You'll often try something and be like, this doesn't work. This can't work. Like I see this sometimes with people with the powder blender products. Oh, I don't like it. It doesn't work. Just because you didn't learn how to, like it's user error. When you see tons of artists using it successfully, you know it's a user error issue. Something you're doing is not, like if you're not getting the results you want, then you're doing something wrong, not necessarily the product. Now, on the flip side, if it's a product where you're like, wow, no one creates really good work with this, then I'm going to go ahead and blame the product. So keep that in mind. Don't jump to that it's the product with the, you know, the OMS doesn't blend out nicely. It does if you have, then that's the thing, that if you have to have enough pigment on the paper. If there's not enough pigment there, there's nothing for it to work with and it doesn't really blend. It doesn't do much of anything. So that's why I'm going to go over this multiple times, and I'm being pretty sloppy here. I'm not doing the smaller circles or anything like that. I just need a bunch of pigment on the paper. That is it. You need, in most cases where somebody is not happy with the results they're getting with the OMS, they did not put enough pencil on the paper. They put a couple of layers and then blended. Now, let's say that was you. You put a couple of layers and blended and you didn't love the results that you got. You didn't ruin anything. You just need to let it dry and then put more layers on it and keep building. I would rather see you do more light layers than try to put a heavy layer where you're pushing too hard and then damaging the tooth of the paper and then you can't get additional layers. So more light layers is always better anyway. So even if that happens and you're like, oh, I didn't have enough layers on there, you didn't ruin anything. Let it dry and go over it. Nothing was damaged. Maya said, are both sides of watercolor paper coated with the sizing, or is it that sanded paper that you won't use because of what you switched to? Wait, what? Are both sides of watercolor paper coated with sizing? Coated with sizing? I don't think I'm understanding how, I mean, you pre-stretched. I'm not sure what you, I don't think my brain is working all the way today, so sorry. Or is it like the sanded paper you won't use because of which I'm sorry, Maya. I don't think I'm reading that properly. I am not sure what you're asking. Casey said, this looks really good so far. I remember you doing the grapes, but I didn't know it was going to be part of a surreal piece. How has your been? Yeah, it wasn't intended to be a surreal piece. That was definitely kind of like I have all this blank paper. Why don't I just go, like I was going to crop it. And I'm like, why don't I just start? Well, this was the thought process. Started with the grapes. Then last week I was like, oh, I may as well just go ahead and add the flower. And then that was the point where I realized, why don't I just fill in the whole paper? Just every week, I'll just add something to it. So it's kind of fun. So I have no idea what this is going to turn out like. It'll be kind of a fun project. Susan said, Lisa, have you tried de-alcoholized wipes? A lot of not wipes. See, my brain is not working today. I'm sorry. Have you tried de-alcoholized wine? A lot less calories and a lot less carbs. Tastes great. I have not. I didn't know that was a thing. But wait, like there's no alcohol? Where's that's not what I want. I mean, if I'm going for taste, I'm going to go for coffee. Jason said, if you know what you're looking at, you can tell when a piece of art is a photo and an art piece. Can't determine what customers see. And an art piece can't determine what customer sees. Yes, that is true. Victoria said, do you have a favorite artist from history, or you'd rather follow those who are alive? I mean, the ones from history aren't posting new stuff very often anymore, so there's that. Favorite artist, I don't know who my favorite artist historically would be. I'm definitely fascinated by Van Gogh and his life and what led him to create the type of work that he creates, which is funny because as much as I'm fascinated by Van Gogh, I don't love that many I appreciate all of his paintings, I would say, but I don't love, most of his, don't go with my decor. They don't go with my style. There are a good number that I love, but it's kind of funny because he just all around fascinates me. But mostly I follow artists who are new because I like to see their new work. So there's that, and they post on Instagram. And Michelangelo he never got his Instagram game going. So he's hard to keep up with. Oh, that just jumped. Sorry. I think I need no more coffee so I can pay attention, like keep up with what you guys are asking because my brain is just shutting down. Dottie said, do you prefer using an easel versus a desk for all of your art? I have to use an easel versus a desk because my back does not allow for anything else. Like I have to be upright. If I look down at all, like even I must have slept with my head slightly down or turned to the side weird because my whole back, I have ankylosing spondylitis. So my joints and my back wants to all fuse together. So I need to stay upright. If it's going to fuse, it needs to be, ow, that cracked. It kind of felt good though. It needs to be upright. If I work at a desk and I look down, I end up in a lot of pain, and that pain will last, like even though I stopped looking down, that pain will last for weeks and weeks before it starts to feel normal again. So yeah, I work at an easel out of necessity. Getting some more of the orange, and again, I went with the luminance orange on this one because it's more opaque and I wanted it to really stand out against the gray of the paper. But when I blend this, it's going to get kind of muddy. So we'll get it a little bit darker. And once I blend this out, I'll blend it with OMS, and then I'm going to be able, let's get some more black. Actually, I don't want my black to be too dead. So let's go ahead and put in there we go. Let's go with Nightshade. Perfect. This is the Derwent Lightfast. They have the best purples of any colored pencil brand, like by far. No one competes with the Derwent Lightfast purples. I love them so much. But this is Nightshade, and I'm going to put that over the black so that my black's not just flat black. And I have to be careful when I blend this. I don't want to blend my black areas. Like I'm not going to take the blending, the OMS and blend straight across the white to the black to the orange. I will end up with a horrible muddy mess. So we need to be very controlled as we blend that out. And she's going to have black that goes along here. We'll do that later. I think I already mentioned that though. I feel kind of lucky. They're doing construction work behind my house and they listen to like mariachi music loudly, and they're not right now. So as I say that, watch, it'll start up again. They're working on the last, this is good though, because this last row behind my house, like I will be surrounded by finished houses. So that will really help with the sound of construction I've dealt with for the last year since moving here. We knew moving in, so our house was like considered phase 1, or I think it was phase 1B. So you saved a lot of money. I mean, this house is, God, I think it's like $20,000 more the base price for this house than it was when we bought it. But we had to live through construction all around us for the last year. So saved money. I wouldn't have been able to afford this house now. You know, what it's currently going for would have been out of my budget. But yeah, you definitely dealing with all of the construction. The construction itself isn't so bad. It's the mariachi music is so loud that the construction workers enjoy and apparently think the rest of us want to enjoy along with them. So it's really loud when they get going. But the houses behind me, it's a different builder. Whoever they're using is way faster than my street was. So that's a bonus. It looks like they're just starting the houses directly behind me, and I'm really hoping they're 1 story so I don't lose too much of the skyline that I get to see out my window. Those 2 stories take up a bit more. Totally random. No one cares, but I'm telling you anyway. Okay, this should be good enough to at least start blending out, and then we'll start the shading on top of that. Maybe a little bit more. I may have to do 1 more layer on that. What are we doing time-wise? Okay. Oh, that was sideways. So my OMS, I keep it in this lock and lock container, just a little guy, but when it sets sideways, luckily it wasn't too sideways. No matter what you put this in, OMS, it's like thinner than water. It's going to leak out of everything. So be very careful. You want to keep it upright. Mine was tilted sideways. So, you know, that wasn't great, but luckily it didn't spill all over. Now I need to find a brush to use. I don't know where all of my favorite brushes are. That one kind of can work for small areas. Nope. Nope. You know, I put these brushes, oh, here's one of them. When I put them away the other week, I remember thinking, don't set them there. That's a stupid place to set them. You're not going to be able to find them. And I was like, I talked myself out of it real quick. Like, no, it's fine. Yeah, it's never fine. Put them where they go. Like, why do you do this to yourself? I mean, it made it to the cart. I've got one of them. I'm looking for the Simply Simmons brush. And I cannot find it. Oh, I guess I'll have to go with that. Where? Seriously, oh, that was upside down. That was genius. Huh. I'm really liking my Simply Simmons, my tack-on bristled filbert that is by Simply Simmons for blending small areas with OMS, but I don't know where it is. It should, oh, I think nope, I didn't. I was almost so excited. It probably is on the floor or rolled off at this point because I put it somewhere where it shouldn't go. This is what happens when you don't put things away. Oh well. Okay. Jason said, do you remember that you have chicken and nugget for names? And I don't know the names of World of Warcraft, so what else do you expect? I do have chicken nugget and sushi are the birds. We've got a food theme going apparently with them. That wasn't on purpose initially. It's just chicken's a shoulder chicken. That's what I called him. And then we just started calling him chicken. My husband had named him something else initially. Jana said, we have a tank of platies. They're live bearers and the fry are not safe. Often the mother will eat them as being born. Yeah, guppies do the same. I remember as a kid having guppies and trying to save them. I did save some. Daniela said, any tips for shipping and selling colored pencil and mixed media art? I've only ever sold paintings on canvas. Package it well. And this is my tip for anything. However you package that, you want to make sure that if you were to hand it, so like let's say you want to keep it flat. You can do it flat if you're going to put it in a mat, or you can put it in a tube if you're using, like this I couldn't put in a tube because the touch-up texture titanium white mixture, it's not flexible. You don't want to roll that up. That could start to chip over time. So one of the things that you want to keep in mind, however, when you package it, consider if I handed this to a 3-year-old, this box, this packaged painting, if I hand this to a 3-year-old to play with for a week, that means they're going to stand on it. They're going to pretend it's a table. They're going to toss it around. Is my artwork going to be perfectly safe? If not, you didn't package it well enough. So that's kind of my general how I consider my packing artwork. Can it handle that? Because they are going to trash it, whether you use the post office, USPS, FedEx, they are all fairly terrible when it comes to keeping stuff safe. Even when you put on there, you know, fragile glass, and even if you don't have glass, I would still put fragile glass on it. Maybe it'll help. But I've heard from some people who work for them that they take it as a personal challenge to break it. So, you know, I don't know that all of them do that, but I have heard from some people who work there who told me that. So those are things to keep in mind. That was years ago. So no one contact me and expect me to turn anyone in. It was a very long time ago. But the point is, that's kind of how I try to think of it. So lots of cardboard, or even if you have access, although wood's gotten really expensive with everything going on, but if you have access to like plywood or something that you can wrap the artwork in the cardboard and then put plywood on the outside, I mean, you really make sure that is very well protected, because whoever you're using as a shipper will not care. And you can put on it that it's fragile, and I don't even bother putting that it's fragile because it doesn't make a difference. They don't even look at that. Like you can have a sign that says this side up, and they're almost guaranteed to leave it on your porch upside down. So I really do need to take the time to find the brush that I want, because this is being way more difficult than it needs to be. Where did I put the lid? Oh my gosh, I am a mess. Okay, we are going to take a minute and see if I can find what in the world I did with that brush. Or maybe I have a new one. I do have some brushes I haven't used. It's possible. Hey, baby tree frogs. They're back there. I don't know if you can see them. Okay. Now I have to think, where is a stupid place to put something? Because I know that's where it is. Huh. Okay, then it must be over here somewhere. I think I just didn't put it in the right place. I probably just tossed it over. Knocking stuff on the floor. Maybe that is it. I just had to look at it from a different angle. I thought I had a different one though. I don't think it was this one. I think I have another one. Maybe I need to get another one. Maybe this one just has been damaged from so much use. I don't know when this was used. Apparently with something with a lot of orange. Okay. Yeah, that'll work. I need to get another one that's a little bit smaller. Now I want to try not to use too much OMS on my brush because I don't want it to bleed out into the gray of the paper because it can leave like an oil stain. And if you want the gray of the paper showing through, you don't want the oil stain showing too. So try not to go too crazy. Like right now, that was a little bit too much on the brush. I should have dabbed it more on my paper towel. I mean, it'll be fine because I'm going to layer on top. It's not, mine's going to get filled in, but it is something you want to keep in mind. Dog's making weird sounds back there. So again, when I do the black needs to be done separate, and I need to be really careful because that will, it's like paint at that point. It'll just smudge. Let's move to the smaller brush. It will smudge right into the lighter colors. Now the gray, everything's going to look way darker because I'm getting that gray paper wet. As it dries, it's going to look back like it'll lighten back up. So don't be afraid or be all excited thinking it's got more pigment than it does. It's going to lighten up when it dries. I am so excited about them working. So the houses behind me, I thought they were going to work on different ones, and they kind of went like out to there's such a huge field back there to build houses on. When they started that back row against ours, I was so excited because it's going to be amazing. It'll be so nice to be out there and for it to be fairly quiet in the backyard. It is definitely not right now. Let's see. Kimberly said, differentiate Grizel and alla prima, fat over lean, and oil painting, these terms. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of different ones. So Grizel, which I say wrong, someone's going to go ahead and correct me, go for it. I pronounce most things wrong, so no one's surprised. That is where you're making a base layer in two tones, like black and white or brown and white, like just those two, your lights and your darks. You're not adding your color. Your color is going to get glazed on after. Alla prima is where you're just painting straight, like you're all in one shot is how I think of it. Like it's going to be wet the whole time. So you have to plan for that. You're not glazing and doing layers like what I do. I don't work that way. So I can't give you a ton of advice there. What was the other question? Fat over lean. Oiling out, I don't know. It's not something I do. I think people just add oil and then paint on top of that. But fat, and I could be wrong on that. So go ahead and correct me because that's not a method that I personally use. Fat over lean is a concept with oil paint. A lot of people will use mixing meat or their paint thinner to thin out the paint. I personally don't. I use liquid for everything, and so it's not something I really have to worry about. Everything's going, like all my layers with oil paint are about the same. I don't have layers that are way thicker than other layers. Start to finish, they're all the same. But if you were to, so let's say you were going to do part of the painting with a palette knife. That goes last. That is considered a fat layer. It's very thick. It's going to take a very long time to dry. Your layers that you've thinned with paint thinner, assuming you paint that way, those dry faster. In my case, I do have to watch the liquid will dry faster. Any layer that dries faster, you don't want on top of a layer that is going to dry slower. The slower layers we consider fat. The faster drying layers are the ones that are thinner, that we've thinned with paint thinner, or in my case, liquid. Those are considered lean. And so if you put a layer that dries fast on top of a layer that's going to dry slow, so that is the thin layer on top of a fat layer, that's going to cause the fat layer can start to crack as it dries. You don't want to do that. So your thinnest layer should be down first, and those fat, thick layers go on top of that, so you're not fighting which one dries first. You want the one that dries first to be the thinner one that goes on the bottom. So that's the easiest way, I think, to think of those terms. Sarah said, I wasn't suggesting that an artist's work isn't worth anything until they're dead, or that being dead makes an artist's work valuable. No, I know what you mean. And what you're talking about is what a lot of people think, that it's worth more just because. Not that it isn't valuable now, but it really has more to do with the name the artist built for themselves. And then once they're gone, they can't produce more. So that is just going to increase or decrease really availability. Like they can't make more for you. So what's out there is what's out there. But it's not just like a lot of people think. And I mean, I heard this a lot growing up, that you can't. I remember my best friend's dad used to say that, like, he said a lot of things that were not true about art, but he would say that it's not worth anything until you die. Like, it's a common misconception about stuff, and it's not. You can get your work to be worth plenty now. There are plenty of artists who get their work out there, but you've got to market yourself. And that seems to be really where most artists fail. I think it's so easy to get caught up. Like, I think I don't know, you're not one of these people, Sarah, you actually understand the marketing side of things really well, but it gives me something to ramble about. But we get in our own way. We like to make excuses on why we can't succeed on something. And it's easier to say, I can't do well with art because I'm still alive. I can't do well with art because I'm not rich. I can't do well with art because fill in the blank. It can be any excuse. And I think that artists, we just make excuses for stuff, and we're not really understanding the reason that we're not being successful in something, or why another artist isn't being successful. You'll see artists who are amazing, like better than I could ever dream to be, yet they can't make a living off of it, because they're not doing the business of marketing. It's not because they're still alive in that case. It's because, or whatever other excuse they did. I've seen people say that they thought they weren't making money because they were a woman. I've heard people say they thought they weren't making money because they were a man. Like, it's really easy to blame something that is out of our control. So that is definitely one of those things that I hope people realize is not how that works. Oh, don't blend that. Instead of looking for reasons on why, like, not reasons, but I'd say they're excuses. Instead of doing the whole, I can't succeed because, the second you start thinking you can't, and again, Sarah, I know you are not this person, but instead of thinking that you can't succeed because of some outside force, figure out how to make it work. Figure out how to use that outside force to your advantage. Like, you can't, we would rather spend time explaining away why we can't do something instead of figuring out how to do it, I think. Just like human nature. G said, do you use polychromos? I do, and I have a lot on this piece. I love polychromos. Priscilla said, hi, Lisa. Sorry I'm late to the stream. I'm not sure if you've answered this. I apologize if you have, but I'm going into the art profession. Was your family completely supportive? My family was. Coffee. I was definitely lucky. Well, no, part of my family. I need to let this dry, so we'll chat while that sets. We don't want to work on top of wet paper. But my family was definitely, my side of the family was supportive. My husband's mom kept trying to get me a job as a receptionist places. Like, she knew I was struggling financially and she wanted to help, but she has never believed that art is a real job. She's never believed I have a job. In her mind, my husband's who bought this house, not me. Like, she doesn't get that. That's all me. Her mind cannot wrap around the fact that I work. So that's kind of a funny thing. And she's sweet. She's nice. She's just, you get those little comments here and there where you're like, wow, that's actually quite insulting. Thanks. Yeah. So I wouldn't say she wasn't supportive. You'll just get these, which is typical of her anyway, but you get these little comments here and there where you're like, I mean, did you mean to insult me? I can't tell if you're doing that on purpose or not. But my parents, my husband has been extremely supportive. Like, and it's kind of cool because they always knew I would make it well. Like, I joke with my husband that I was an investment because he supported me for years where I was making almost nothing, and he never complained once. And he should have. I don't know why he didn't. I would have been like, come on, contribute here. So he has been a huge support. So now we joke because now the tables have turned and I make more than he does. And so he calls me his sugar mama when he wants to buy, like, he just got ordered the new, the Xbox. We are cut off on spending for a while now after that one, but he pre-ordered, I don't know what it is. You other gamers will know. He was able to find one yesterday. And so he got that, and he comes and asks me for more money, like, for getting his stuff. But it's like, I'll joke every once in a while, like, I was a good investment for you, wasn't I? Like, he held out for years of me making nearly nothing, and he never complained. Like, it's impressive how much I don't know how he did it, but no, I've been very, very lucky in my family being supportive. I would have done it either way. Support me or not support me. I make up my mind on something, and I'm going to make it work. Like, It was never not going to happen I didn't think it would be because of YouTube. I thought it would be from selling work, doing art shows, galleries, and that sort of thing, and teaching still, but teaching in-person classes. I didn't think it would turn into the way that it took a path I wasn't expecting, but I knew I was going to make this happen. And so, I was definitely very lucky that they were very supportive. My mother-in-law's comments definitely can grate sometimes, but it's all good. Maya said, I meant, are both sides of watercolor paper safe in terms of light fastness? Oh, makes way more sense now. Yes, they are. You're fine on either side, Maya. Okay, that makes so much more sense now. Okay, oh, come back, Casey. You are next. Come on, I need you to hurry up and dry. I probably won't put as many layers on this as I would like to, just because I would probably blend this out one more time with OMS for a base layer, but I think I'm going to jump into shading as soon as this is dry, just for time's sake. It'll still look good either way. But it is a bit different than I would have probably done. And again, we're just chatting because I need this to dry. Where were we? Oh my gosh, I'm missing so many questions. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where we left off. The chat will jump, and then I have to scroll back up to find out where we were. Oh, Casey said, hi, I missed a word. How has your week been? My week has been good, busy. I've been really working hard, trying to get caught up on stuff like updating my Patreon /Subscribestar library that I spent hours on last night. I'm so trying to get caught up on stuff. But yeah, it's been good. How about you guys? Hope everyone else has gotten lots of art done. Sarah said, I just learned that if an artist has a reputation, his body of work then increases in value after he's dead because there is not going to be another piece by that artist. Exactly. Yes. Kimberly said, I believe your favorite artist is the one staring back at you in the mirror. I mean, if you looked around my house, you would think that, but there are definitely artists I would rather have their work than my own work on their walls. I think we all have our favorites when it comes to that. Imagination Art said, I have trouble working on a large scale on digital. I have to see the whole image to know what I should be doing. How do you work correct when zoomed in or out for large pieces? I'm constantly zooming in and out. I think that's how, it's a pretty regular thing. It's actually annoying to watch if I record it. I have to edit some of that out, but I'm constantly zooming in and out to see the overall balance. I know what you mean, but that is, yeah, I'm doing both. I zoom in to get the detail, and then I zoom back out to see if everything is balanced a lot. TK said, how much time does OMS need to dry? I'm waiting a long time, but it's still wet. Also, I don't know how to get a very light color pink when I need much pigment. With pink, you've got a couple of options. One is to put white down and then put your red or your pink on top of that. I very light color pink when I need much. I'm not sure I understand that part of the question. I mean, use a wax-based pink would be probably ideal to get more pink, color, but I may not be reading that part of the question right. But as far as how long does OMS need to dry, it depends on the paper. It depends on the humidity in the room you're in. It depends on all kinds of stuff. So here, this paper, it's kind of spongy, it soaks it in. So it has to dry a lot longer than it would. If I was on hot press watercolor paper, we'd be working on this already. But it definitely needs a bit more. I can tell because see how dark it is in these spots? I know that this isn't dry because the paper is dark. When it lightens back up to mostly white, the paper is dry. In this case, because of it being toned, it's easy to tell. But I'm not sure how long this is going to take because this room, I actually keep kind of humid because of the plants in here. And yeah, I can't give you a definite time on this. Normally on a hot press watercolor paper, if I had done that less than 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, 4 minutes, here, probably double that. Donnie said, what is the biggest difference between Derwent and polychromos? Color, application, price, etc. Price, I actually don't know on the price. I haven't looked at that lately. And I'll be talking about Derwent Light Fast, not just any Derwent across the board because they make several different color. The Derwent, so they're both listed as being or considered to be oil-based. Derwent themselves says that the Derwent Light Fast are oil-based. To me, they feel closer to wax, somewhere in between wax and oil. They're a really good balance of both. So Derwent Light Fast blends. If I want to do a background, Derwent Light Fast, hands down. It's going to blend super smooth. I can be sloppy. You can, I don't have to do the super, super tiny, even little circles to make sure it's even. When I blend with OMS, it is going to blend out and be really smooth. Polychromos have to be more careful as I do that. Keep the sharp pencil and tiny little ovals or circles overlapping to avoid having like streaks where I don't want them. The polychromos are going to be more translucent because they have like a higher oil content. The polychromos also will sharpen to a finer point without breaking than the Derwent Lightfast, but the Derwent Lightfast actually do a decent job of being able to be pretty sharp, more so like they're definitely a harder lead than the Caran d'Ache Luminance, because those are your true, more wax content. So color wise, there's a variation, like hands down, without a doubt, Derwent Lightfast makes the best purples. Like no other color pencil is as good. But with some of the other colors, like blues, there are a lot of browns in the Derwent Lightfast, like a weird amount of browns. They don't have as many good pinks. You don't have a huge selection of pinks, orange, and reds in the Derwent Lightfast. You have a weird amount of blues, or not blues. You have a lot of grays. You have a lot of like the more natural, a lot of browns. I would like to see more pinks with them. I go to my either Caran d'Ache Luminance or my Polychromos when I want more pinks. But yeah, those are application. I would say Derwent Lightfast, they blend out smoother. Not that you can get the same results with either pencil. It's just you have to kind of alter your technique a little bit. The Derwent Lightfast will blend out easier, smoother, and not have the harsher strokes. Whereas the Polychromos, you're going to get finer details easier, and they're a bit more translucent. Jason said, charge them for the airspace they're taking from your experience. Huh? I don't know what that had to do with like part of the conversation we were on. I'm sorry. Kimberly said, always forget Mrs. Voorhees was the original huh? What are you guys talking about? So see, we get into different, like the conversation is so far off what we were just talking about versus when I get to the comments. So I'm always so far behind, and I know, I'm sorry. I'm like, what? Starving Artist Claudia says, smiling at your comments about mariachi music. My Chinese neighbors love karaoke. We all live in a built area, so it won't be going away. Good thing the woman sings beautiful. That's funny. Yeah, these ones, they listen and they're outdoors listening, like they're not inside. We do have a couple houses down. They play in a band because they'll occasionally have live music on Saturday nights. Loud. It wasn't as bad until they brought in the drums one night and they went all out. And these houses are really close together. So it was like, oh, please don't do that. They haven't done that. That was months, like maybe 3 months ago was the last time they did that. I wonder how many neighbors were like, please don't use the drums again. Let's see. Would you do a video where you explain how to package painting made on canvas and paper? I don't want to be responsible. Honestly, it's as simple as that. I don't feel like I'm an expert. Every single time I ship something, I feel like I'm taking a risk. And luckily, one time something happened, and it was because I put a tie, like a bow around it, and it pressed on it in shipping, and I had to redo the piece. I can give you some tips, but no, the reason I haven't done the video is I don't want to give you bad advice. I don't want to, with what the post offices do to stuff, it's like, I don't want to be responsible for like, you said this would work. I mean, I hoped it would, but I don't know. Every time I package something, it's always different too. That's the other thing. I reuse the same, or whatever I got from like Amazon, or I'll be shipping out a box that had a piece of glass in it for a painting that has, oh, it's not in here. It's out there. I just finished varnishing it. Painting that has to go out. I reuse the boxes. So it's not even like I could be like, go buy this box. It's whatever I have. And I usually will cut mine down to shape, and I layer and layer and layer. And if I have old, like I save any, styrofoam that comes in something I ordered, I save that so that I can reuse it, because I'm not going to go out and buy it. And like I am a bit concerned about the amount of styrofoam we are producing. So I'll just reuse stuff that was sent to me. I don't know that that's the best solution, but that is what I do. So it's not even like I could be like, go buy this product. This is what I use what I have here, because I order a lot of stuff online. I don't see myself doing it because I'm not comfortable giving advice that may or may not work for you, depending on how badly your post office trashes your stuff. Meg said, do you have a specific all-in-one aquarium for your saltwater tank? I have the Fluval Evo, the 13.5 gallon is what my current setup is. My next one will not be an all-in-one. I'll probably do the sump. It's going to be a bigger setup. So the Fluval Evo is a nice tank. if you are somewhat experienced, I made a lot of modifications to mine as far as the filtration goes. There are things I love, things I don't love about it. If you are new to saltwater, I would not recommend it because it's such a small water volume. It is very hard to keep your parameters good. A larger water volume gives you more room for error. It's a lot easier to keep a larger tank stable. So it's not like if you're just looking to get into, I need to make a video. I want to do this more on all of my animals because I show videos or photos of them. Are you dry? Let's see if you're dry enough that we can get away with working. But I show videos all the time of my animals, and I think I want to, you know, be responsible and let people know here are the pros and cons to this setup. Like my bioorb back there. I posted the photos and it's beautiful. I wouldn't buy it again. And I want to talk about why that is so people don't see it and go like, I want that one too. Like there are better options. So I want to do some videos like that. Colors do I need? Sometime soon. I think I'm going to pull the heather color that I used here. I'm going to pull a lot of that into these guys to make them feel like they go in, like they feel a part of it. So we'll use a bit more with the purples. I will use some blues too, though. Trying to pull out. I'm really trying to use a lot of the same colors I used on these, pull them into this one. Please be dry enough because we're never going to finish this if I don't get started. We're going to make it work. It could be more dry. But yeah, the all-in-one, that one does work. It's been actually a pretty good tank. But like I said, I modified it. I got the in-tank baskets for chambers 1 and 2. If you've looked into that tank, you'll know what I'm talking about. The rest of you are like, what are you rambling about? But I have completely changed my filtration from what it came with stock. Let's see. Kim said, when packaging artwork to ship to other countries, be careful about using wood. Some countries won't allow it. Oh, that's interesting. Australia is one that bans import of wood products to avoid insects. That is really interesting. I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, I don't ship anything big enough out of the country that it would that wood would be remotely useful because I shipped, there was a 16 by 20 inch painting and they wanted, if I kept it on the stretcher bars and just packed it so it was like still small, but 16 by 20, it was going to be like $450 just, and this was years ago, so it's probably even more now. I ended up talking to the person who bought it and told them, you know, the only real, if you don't want to pay that, I can remove it from the stretcher bars and send it in a tube. That's how I ended up getting it to her, and then she had to restretch it. It was way cheaper for her to have a framer restretch it than to pay that in shipping. It was safer for the artwork too. But yeah, that is interesting. Thank you for letting me know that. I would have had no idea. This is just this is wild lavender. It's not heather. And notice my pencil doesn't really need to be sharp here. I'm just starting to build up. I'm going to blend these out. Start getting some of the darker purples in there. Actually, I need more magentas too. Just grabbing a whole bunch of stuff over here. We'll see what looks good. It kind of goes with the whole, I may regret this. Let's find out. This one is violet. Oh, that'll work good for the underside here. We have around the gill, goes around there somewhere. We'll define that better later. Claudia said, can I use polychromos oil-based over watercolor? Is it still going to be archival? I know it shouldn't be different medias, but I use crayons on the dry painting. You can do watercolor first and then colored pencil on top of that, no problem. You just can't do the reverse. You wouldn't want to put your polychromos and then your watercolor on top. That's not going to be archival. But watercolor first, be completely done with watercolor, and then the light polychromos on top of that, you're fine as long as, you know, everything is still light fast. Jason said, how do you determine that you need to lay down fat versus thin layer? It's always you will always put your thin layers down first, always. There is no avoiding that. Like it's not today I'm going to put down the reverse. Like you never want to do that. So, that's just how you work. But for me, all my layers are the same. Like it's not something that I even really think about as I work because I don't use fat layers really at all. Everything is thinned down quite a bit by liquid. So all my layers dry pretty quickly. So it's not like, it's not something that even really crosses my mind as I'm working, because they're all going to be the same. Do you have any tips for dealing with burnout? I have been drawing for 2 years every day for up to 8 hours a day. Burnout. I mean, you can take a break, but it depends. So if you're drawing that much, I'm guessing that this is your job. That's the thing. It's your job. Yeah, you can be bored with it, but you still have to go to work. I mean, I worked at the animal hospital, and it didn't, like, let me tell you, I was never in the mood to go there. If it's your job, if that's, you don't really get many options on not doing it. So I don't know. I mean, I set goals for myself when I work. And while, yes, you can take a break, but if it's your job, obviously, again, it's your job. You don't just take a ton of days off because you're not in the mood to work. I think that that's one of the things that will separate too artists who become successful versus those that don't. A lot of artists will sit around waiting until they're in the mood to paint. Like, there's this idea that art is more like fantasy based than what it is, that you're going to be moved to paint or draw a certain thing. No, this is my job. And if I want this to be my job, I have to treat it like a job. And whether I'm in the mood or not, whether I have burnout or not, I have to go do it. So, you know, it's maybe not the answer you're looking for. I mean, a lot of people will do, take a break for 5 days. You can, but don't take a break for too long, because that burnout may or may not ever go away. Now, I will say, mixing up what you're doing. So for me, things that help, that I know I don't really feel the burnout too often anymore. I work in multiple mediums. If I did always acrylic, always colored pencil, always, I would definitely start feeling burnt out. It's fun for me and kind of new feeling when I've got a different medium to work in. This week I'm doing, you know, like Patreon this week was what? We did colored, no wait. The last two were actually acrylics. Before that, was it colored pencil and then a charcoal? You know, I'm mixing it up and mixing up styles. So sometimes it's more realistic. Sometimes it's like we did the Van Gogh style, the more impressionistic. Like that, I think helps too, if you can mix things up a bit instead of having it always be the same thing every single time. So those are things that you may want to try. But I think it's important too to if you're trying to be successful with your art, yeah, if you go on a forum, everyone's going to do the whole, you have to be in the mood and don't work when you're not in the mood. And what other job gets to do that ever? Like that's not how, if you want it to be your job, and I know you didn't say that you did. I'm just assuming if you're working that much, that's what you're either doing now or working towards. You have to treat it like a job, and you're not going to want to work all the time. But I think trying new mediums definitely will kind of refresh my passion when I try something that I've never tried before. It's one of the things that I love about the Smart Art Box so much. Like, I like trying something new, even if I'm just screwing around with it and drawing like silly little things. It gives me ideas. It brings out new ideas, trying something new. So I'm not just doing the same thing over and over and over again. So that may be something that helps. But I would definitely avoid this concept and the advice that you will often hear from people on, I'll just take a break, and if you're not in the mood, it's okay. I mean, yeah, it's okay if you're not in the mood, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't go to work. Like, you would get fired from any other job if you just didn't go to work because you weren't in the mood for it. We assume that art should always be fun. Well, if it's your job, sometimes you're going to rather play World of Warcraft, but you need to go work. So, or, you know, whatever it is that you're into. Let's see. Hi, I only have a set of polychromos. My drawings end up looking a bit washed or faded. Is this a pencil issue or technique issue? It could be a paper issue, or it could be a technique issue. The pencils themselves should not look faded if you're keeping them very, very sharp and doing a lot of light layers. Like, just keep building until that color saturation, because you said polychromos, right? Yeah, polychromos have amazing color saturation. So that is either going to be technique or your paper, or a combination of both. Princess says, how old were you when you started colored pencil? I'm 15 years old and trying to open my store soon. Where did you start to become a professional artist? Or where did you start? I started, gosh, I mean, I've always drawn. That's just kind of been my thing. But I started, how old was I? Was 19. I was walking down at Laguna Beach, and there was a lady who was, at the time, I mostly did, like, I really liked painting marine life. There was a lady who was doing marine life or selling it, and she was selling them for like she had them listed. I don't know if she actually sold them for that much, for like $5,000, and they were terrible. I mean, I don't want to call someone else's work terrible, but being that that's what I did, like, if I were to do a critique, I would say she was a quarter of the way through, and also, like, she didn't have a good eye for composition. Like, I had questions. Like, she was definitely wealthy outside of her artwork, I will say. But anyway, when I saw that, that was the thing that really got me going. And I was wrong on this. This is not how art works. But I was like, if she can do that and she's selling it for that much, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to do it too. And that, again, not how art works. But I'm glad that I was delusional enough, or uninformed enough to think that, because that's what got me started. Where I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going for. So that is really, I was 19 when I made the decision that this is what I wanted to do. And I started hitting up different coffee shops, and eventually art galleries in the Pomona Arts Colony. That was kind of where I got my start with showing my work. And then I would enter art competitions. I did a lot of that. And just art shows, like local art shows around Southern California. I did those a lot, like outdoor events, which they were more work than they were worth. I didn't really make any money doing those. But it gave me experience, and I mean, I learned a lot from it. So yeah, that is how I started. And then after that, so that was what year was it when I was 19? I don't know. It was before the internet really took off. But then eBay in, 98 or 99, I started selling, I think it was 99, started selling stuff on eBay. My husband and I were dating at the time, and we went in on like halves and bought a computer together, because they were really expensive back then. And we had to keep it in his mom's house, because my mom was convinced that computers were going to bring the devil into the house. I still to this day make fun of her for that, and she doesn't think that anymore. She's not like, I make her sound like she's a crazy person. She's not. But at the time, let me tell you, those were some arguments. So anyway, I had to keep the computer at at Matt's parents' house. This is before we were married, because my mom wouldn't allow it in our house. Well, I could have the computer, I just couldn't have internet, because the internet apparently was the devil or something. I don't know. I'm not sure where my mom got that information, but so anyway, yeah, that is kind of, I started selling stuff on eBay, and then I started taking commissions through forums. So I had, when in 90, this is years later, at this point I was probably like 25, 26, I got my Italian Greyhound, maybe I was 27, 28. No, I would have been older. I would have been getting up closer to 30. My Italian Greyhound, my first one, I started painting her, and I would share that in some of the Italian Greyhound forum I was on. And I started getting pet portrait commissions because of that. So that's kind of like where that path started. And I started teaching in 99, I think. I started teaching my own art classes there. So yeah. Well, come back, Aurora. Where were we? You were next. Itchy nose, and that just... Sorry, we completely lost where we were because this jumped. Oh my gosh. Wow, this jumped far. Sorry, it's going to take me a minute to find where we were. Hope this is it. Aurora said, with the Lux Archival sanded paper, what brand of backing board do you use and how do you adhere it? Could you suggest a video? Check out Nick Edgar, our moderator. Check out his channel because I think he was talking about it in his last live stream. I've not mounted mine yet. I normally bought stuff pre-mounted. I would probably use whatever Nick is using. So Nick can give you more information there because I haven't mounted mine yet because I'm lazy. Let's see. Joseph said PS5 or Xbox. I think it was the wait. Shoot. Yesterday was the PS5 drop. So maybe that's what it was. I don't know. He got it. He was able to get it from Walmart. They had them in stock and they were like they did something so that for the scalpers. So maybe it was PS5. Whatever was released yesterday is what he was able to find. And I know it gets shipped out, I think on the 1st is when it's supposed to be here. So I don't know. I don't play console games, so I don't really know much about them. Let's see. Jack said, when you love someone, you'll support them, like your pets or your kids or your spouse. Agreed. Victoria said, are you planning to make something in graphite soon? I haven't seen artwork in that in ages, or maybe something more familiar with colored pencils now. Maybe you're just more familiar with color. I did graphite on, we had a recent one in graphite on Patreon. What did I do? Oh, was it the draft? I don't even remember. I feel like the weeks go by so fast because I go nonstop. Like one of these days, I'm going to take an actual day off. I don't know when that's going to happen, but yeah. So I know I did that one not that long ago. I haven't done one for a live stream though in a while. The colored pencil one, part of the reason that I've done that so many weeks in a row, one, they're more popular. I definitely have more people interested in these. The other thing is that because I kind of just keep adding to this piece, I'm like, we'll just keep doing this every week for a few weeks. Skylar said, is it too personal to ask how you're getting income with art if you're not doing commissions for people? Most of mine is through YouTube and Patreon, like teaching online lessons, or, Patreon is what I would consider an online lesson. So that is how the teaching, that is where my consistent income comes from. I do sell my original paintings. Like I had some sell last week. So that's, yeah, I mean, I have multiple income streams. So like I get some from Amazon affiliate links. I get some from like the merch. If you were to buy a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or something, I get a cut of that. I get ad revenue for YouTube videos. I have my Patreon and Subscribestar. And that's where my actual like longer lessons are. If prints sell, that is another way. So yeah. Those are multiple like sources of income are a good idea as an artist. Like you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. And I would say most of my eggs are in the Patreon basket, which is kind of scary. So that's why I have now Subscribestar going too. But it's not, I don't have the Subscribestar video library finished yet. So don't sign up there yet or switch over there just yet. I'm working on it. I was working on it for a long time last night. But anyway, if you can diversify your income streams, that way if something goes on with like Patreon fails, or if like my merch account, I have to set up a new one for any reason, like I still have income coming in from other areas. When I used to just do, oh, this looks pretty. What is this one? This is crimson. I wouldn't think that was crimson. That looks like magenta or violet to me. But anyway, if one of those goes down, like Fine Art America had some, like their site was having some issues for a while there. And it's like, I still have other sources of income. So if one goes down, it doesn't kill everything. But when I used to just do portraits, if I didn't have a portrait commission, I couldn't pay my bills that month. And that was a real problem. So the way that it's set up now, it's a lot more consistent and it fluctuates. It's not the same every month, but it's, if you can have multiple sources for your income, that is certainly ideal as an artist. I mean, I guess that's ideal for anybody. Thank you, Princess Peach. She said, I love your nails. I did these last night. I got new. So there's Blush Lacquer. Give a quick shout out to them. I am in love with their nail polish. The prices on a lot of them are cheaper than OPI, but they stick. My natural nails, I have to do them every 2 or 3 days. I like painting my nails, so it's fine. Like it's not that big of a deal for me. And it takes me about 15, 20 minutes to do a complete set, even with the stamping. So I have the nail stamping here. But the colors themselves, Blush Lacquers, where's my phone? I'll tell you. They are absolutely wonderful, and their paints they ship their stuff really quick, which is kind of a big deal because, the other company that I was getting stuff from, Blush Lacquers. Is their website on here? Blushlacquers.com, but, Blush, B-L-U-S-H. It sticks to my nails. The brush they're using in it, I love like just for painting purposes, it's actually pretty easy to use. And I've got to blend this out, which I hate to do because we're going to have to let this dry for a second, but it needs to happen. But yeah, they have really, really good stuff. And they ship them quickly. So the other company that I like, that I use a lot, they can take up to 5 weeks to ship their stuff out. I'm not sure why it takes her so long, but they're shipped right away. And the quality, like I'm so in love with these polishes. So yeah, they just came last night. I was excited. But I was surprised how much longer. I get about an extra 2 days, day or two out of these nail polishes than I do even my other indie brands. I prefer indie nail polish because I do feel like they last a lot longer, but these ones are even longer than the ones I'd previously used. Okay, while that dries, we can do some of the shading on the orange. She needs magenta. No one is surprised. I think my best magentas are going to be my, oh no, wait, I've got some good ones here. What do we have? Ooh, deep rose and purple. That doesn't look like purple. That looks like magenta. Someone really needs to hire me to name the pencils. So whenever I am shading on orange or yellows, I am not going to jump to black. You might think, oh, I need a shadow, add black. It's not going to be cute. Try to use magentas and purples whenever possible. And I'll have to blend this out too, but we want to get that shading in there. Vladimir said, difference from Pablo pencils from Luminance Caran d'Ache. The Pablos are to Caran d'Ache Luminance what Prismacolor Very Thins are to Prismacolor Premier. They're a smaller lead. They're very waxy. I don't like them. I also never like the Prismacolor Very Thins, so there's that. But some people love them. The only thing I like Pablos for are my final layers on sanded paper. I think they're wonderful for that. But other than that, I'm not a huge, like I never bought a full set. I could never justify, like, I don't really need these. So, big fish lips. She looks like an Instagram model. That's rude. I'm weirded out by the level of Botox or the injections people do on their lips. I'm like, you look like my clownfish. Anyway, sorry. What was I even rambling about? Oh, yeah, they're a little bit waxier. They're harder, so they're supposed to be good for fine detail. I don't know. They were just never my thing. I was never a huge, like, but for final layers on sanded paper, oh, they're amazing for like those last little details. I really like them for that. So everyone has their preferences. I think you just have to figure out like what works best for the technique you're currently using. For the technique I usually use, I'm not like a Pablo person. But like I said, I was never a fan of the Prismacolor Very Thins, and a lot of people love those. Pushing really hard on the center of her eye there. Isha said, would you recommend drawing with only polychromos on toned paper? You could use any pencil. You could do this all with polychromos. You could do this with a mixture. Like really, it's completely up to you. I need darker purples for the shadow here. I didn't use as much OMS, and so this is drying fast enough that I can go ahead and start layering on it over it sooner than I was able to on that first layer. So I'm going pretty dark on these guys because the white is going to stand out better if I get the darks in now. So I want to make sure I clean that brush off before I start blending, because if I had blended with black or anything like that, it'll blend into the orange, which we don't want. So when I clean it off, I just clean it off in your OMS. The OMS is a brush cleaner, so that's all you need to clean your brush. And then I just wipe it on a paper towel. And then I don't want the orange to spread into the purple, so I wipe it off again. Blend that out again. Now each additional layer, as I move on, I need less and less OMS. If you use too much when you've got it built up pretty good, you start removing pencil from the paper instead of blending out what's there. Okay, we can start getting highlights on those guys when this dries. Some questions through here. Would you recommend? Okay, got that one. AG said, did you see that Karen Dosh released new luminous colors? Yes, and I need to get them. Aurora said, how and where do you have prints of your originals made, and what is the average price? I have them done through Fine Art America. They are going through a weird like internal business thing. As far as I know, everyone's getting their prints just fine. But from the like, as somebody who is selling my work with them, I have not been able to upload new. I wasn't able to get into my account to upload. I'm still getting paid when somebody orders something, but I wasn't able to upload new prints for a while. So they're kind of having issues there. I don't know if I'm gonna have to look for somebody else, but they have a new Facebook group for their people that it seems like they're trying to get things worked out. We'll see, but that's who I've been using. Average price, I have no idea. You'd have to go look. There should be a link in the video description. If not, there's a link on my website. If you go to lachri.com under shop prints, it should be there. You can get an idea of there's so many options that the price is all over the board. Let's see. Jason said, it was because of the building going on around you, so they sell airspace. It's a premium for you. They sell the airspace. Okay, I know now what we were talking about, but I still don't know what you're talking about. I'm just not all here right now. Princess Peach said, do you recommend Stonehenge sheets of pads or paper, and why? The individual sheets, not the pads. The pads are too smooth. I do not like them. I like them for graphite. I don't like them for like colored pencil work, but for actual colored pencil work, yeah, the individual sheets are fine. Like my friend Alan Willett, he calls them Spongehenge. He hates them. He hates Stonehenge, but it is very kind of spongy. If I were just using polychromos alone, I wouldn't like it, but because I use OMS with it, they blend. I really like them for portraits. I can blend out skin tones so nice with those. George said, the clownfish on the right looks like a cow in a good way. He does. That's what I love him. I really like, there's another one called an orange. He's a black storm. The orange storm, it's orange where the black is. Those are really cute too. But yeah, I love that cow look. Well, we all know I like cow print because we've got my greyhound over here. I call him a house cow because he's cow print too. Violet Sky said, hi, Lisa. Sorry if you already talked about this. I'm late to the party, but how did they ship the frogs? Did you make a video of the unpacking? That would be fun to see. I did. I haven't like made the video, but I did record the process. They came in these little, it's almost like a small deli cup that has holes all around it. There was sphagnum moss first, and then I think they both had like a pothos leaf in there, and then it was 2 frogs per cup. So that is how they arrived. So far, they're still good. I think one of them, TMI coming up here, is a bit constipated, so I'm kind of watching that. One has been waking up in the day and seems to be kind of struggling there, so I'm watching for that. I may need to let him soak in some warm water to help that out. The thing with frogs, they're horribly sensitive. So I bought 4 of them, knowing I only actually wanted 3, and that sounds terrible, but they're an indicator species. If anything species, they're so sensitive to anything, and the environment goes bad, anything. Like they're very, very. It's almost more sensitive than my fish and well, the clownfish are really hardy, but they could have been like eaten something they shouldn't have before they got to me. So many things can go wrong with frogs. So they're so adorable and I'm so attached to them, but it's like, I have to keep reminding myself, like, you may lose one. It's not, do the best you can. But anyway, yeah, so I'm keeping close eye on that. And like, I'm a worried wreck watching constantly and trying to check to make sure he's okay. So far, he's good. Today, I haven't seen him. This is about the time that he kind of has the last like 2 days in a row seem to kind of be struggling. But anyway, hopefully he passes that on his own and doesn't, because I don't know I have to look into a vet that treats amphibians near me. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. But they're really, really sensitive. And that's why I went with Josh's frogs, because I'm not comfortable with wild caught frogs, first of all. I mean, I know that we had to start with wild caught, but if we can breed them in captivity now, which we can, that's what I want to go with. Are you dry enough? No, you need to set a bit more. So these guys are captive bred. And the good thing about that is they are not going to be as prone to parasites. And that's a real problem with captive bred frogs. And that was one of the reasons I didn't want to go with my local pet store or reptile store, the one that set up the initial vivarium, because when I asked them if theirs were captive bred, because he's like, yeah, we just got a bunch in. And I asked if they were captive bred, and he goes, I don't know, I'll have to check. And I'm thinking, if you don't know, that means you are regularly getting red-eye tree frogs that are not captive bred, and I don't want mine exposed to that. So Josh's frogs, they have really strict quarantine process where any new frogs that come in are not anywhere near their captive bred frogs, because you do want to diversify like your breeding program. But they do test. There's a certain type of bacteria right now that's starting. I think it started in like 99. It was late 90s, and it has decimated frog populations in the wild. So while some people are like, oh, they should only be left in the wild, you know, there are certain species right now that the whole wild population died because of this bacteria that started killing frogs. So I forget what it's called. There's like 2 different ones that are a real concern. And there's not really a treatment for it. And then parasites, of course, are an issue. So, but that bacteria is a real, like, and it's super contagious. But I like Josh's Frogs program for making sure that doesn't end up, you know, that's not something that you worry about with them. But they also, the way that they shipped them, and they were packed so well. They had stuff to keep the temperature regulated in the box. Like, it was so packed. Like, I was so impressed. So if I order frogs again, I'm definitely comfortable ordering from them. They did a good job. That was a lot of rambling. Sorry. I'm just waiting for this to dry. So come on. Smooth out. As it starts to dry, I can see where it needed to blend it a little bit more before I put the white on. The highlights are going to make such a difference. And I'm going to do highlights both with colored pencil and with my touch-up texture titanium white. We're probably going to run about 15 minutes late on today's video because I've also got to do the black edging. But again, that needs to dry. Donnie said, do you take your art to shows? And if so, do you ever come to the Houston area? I don't do art shows anymore. I don't have time. I don't teach in person anymore for the same reason. I don't take commissions for the same reason. I just don't have time. So no, I don't. The only thing that I do is like next year when Aquashella comes back, I'll have my art there. That's because I'm friends with the people who run that show. Let's see, when and why you use a fat layer, what use I can get from them. That's going back to the oil painting thing, and I really can't explain it any better than I already have. The fat over lean. It has nothing to do with colored pencil. Fat over lean is with oil paint. You want your thick, fat, slow drying medium layers to be on top of thin layers that dry fast go first. Your thicker layers that are going to dry slow, like you have not thinned them with paint thinner, or in my case with liquid, those go last. So, I mean, I've already covered it, so I don't really, I'll be here all day if I keep covering it. Jason said, people are waiting for inspiration. Yep, and then they don't get anything done. Like, I want people to feel inspired. It's always good to, like, we all want to feel inspired, but I think we get to a point where we're spending too long waiting for that to happen, and so we don't make our own success because we're waiting for it to fall on us. And it doesn't just fall on you, you make it happen. And so same thing with inspiration. If you wait for inspiration to strike before you start painting and drawing, you're not going to get very far with it. Let's see. Kimberly said, you said not to use paint straight from the tube. Why? I don't know what you're going to have to give me more to go on. I'm sorry, Kimberly. Do you mean I thin it with paint just to get at the texture or the consistency that I want? But I feel like there's more to that conversation that I'm not quite picking up on now. Like, I don't know what instance you're talking about exactly. Jason said, people are okay, got that one. Well, I mean, I thin it because it's too thick out of the tube. So that may be what we're talking about. Princess said, it isn't my job. I'm 15 years old, but I want it to be my job. I love it so much and I enjoy drawing that much. That's awesome. Imagination Art said, I keep my OMS in a small glass jar with a clamp lid with a rubber seal and find the next time I go to use it, it has evaporated. Have you had issues with that in your container? This one, I'm not really seeing that it evaporates so much, but if it tilts, it will leak out and evaporate then. But it's not really evaporating in this too much. And I use the same type of container that you're using, and it was the same. Like, I didn't really see much difference there as long as it's actually sealing the air out. If your container is not really sealed all the way around properly, and those seals on those jars do start to rot over time, they're like rubbery. If that is what, that may be, if it's older, what's happening for yours. And Annette said, I love your art chats. I look forward to them. I like your personality and the way you share information. Oh, thank you. Starving Artist Collective said there's a never-ending discussion going on in art circles about zinc white oil paint and its archival qualities. Passion on both sides. Have you read anything about this? Thoughts? My thing was zinc white. I've read, there's pros and cons to everything. My attitude with zinc white, when I use it thin. I don't use it thick. It can crack over time, or they think chip or peel or whatever, have issues with that. You don't want to put it on really thick. So mine is always thin with liquid, and I don't use it a lot. There are a few techniques that that is the only paint that is going to give me the look that I want when I glaze certain things with white, like the highlight on the eye. But I use it so sparingly that it's not a problem, and it's never been a problem. I've been using it for 20 years, never had a problem. And I know 20 years isn't an indication of like how long, it's not going to last, doesn't tell me what it's going to look like in 100 years, but it's still, that is kind of what I think about it. It's still, there is not an alternative for me that is going to do what it is going to do. But like I said, I'm not going to be painting it on there with a palette knife or putting it on super thick. That's really where you get into bigger issues as far as it being archival, is like where it's just caked on there. It's not the right choice. Tallulah said, do you think, and the funny thing about that is I don't know why you would want it caked on there. The reason that I use it is because it's a translucent white. I don't need translucent white on there thick. So, yeah. Tallulah said, do you think that pan pastels make the powder blend? Do you think pan pastels make the powder blender a bit redundant? Do you see yourself using it as much when you can get similar results quicker with the pan pastels and save your pencils? I like them both. It's just a different medium. I mean, as far as you can get the same result either way. It depends on what you're comfortable with. Some people don't, the pan pastels feel a bit bulky to them and they don't want to go that route. Colored pencils can be a bit easier to control for a lot of people. And so that may be the appeal there. So I don't think it makes it redundant. I mean, I don't need to use powder blender too much if I've gone over pan pastels, but if I'm going to use just colored pencil, then like it depends on what your goals are for the piece and what you're in the mood to work with, I think. I mean, the same thing could be said, like, do acrylic paints make oil painting redundant because acrylics dry faster? Well, there's pros and cons to everything. So it really depends on what the artist is looking for. I like that question. I don't think anyone's ever asked that. Let's see. Are you dry yet? I think we can start on with the white. Let me get Kimberly said, quit and pursue your dreams like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. But then again, these are old money, Bel Air rich kids, so get your butt to working. Yeah, so you will get so much horrible advice. I'm going to use my Drawing Chinese White now to get these highlights. Woo! I just moved that. You will get so much horrible advice from these like business gurus who will tell you just quit your job and go for it. Give it all for a year or whatever. That is some of the worst advice you can give someone. That is a good way to make someone hate art, because the chances of you making it in a year are slim to none. Very unlikely. I've known people who did it. Actually, who did Unmask Art. He made it very quickly. He was like, I'm putting everything in. I've got money saved. I'm going to make this. And he's done wonderfully. But that's not the norm. The norm, I would say it would be better to have a job while you're working on your art career. I would never recommend somebody to do that business advice of just go all in. Like, that is just horrible advice. And I've known of so many people who gave up on art altogether because of that bad advice. Like, that is just, nope, that is not good advice. But anyway, yeah, do both. And you're always going to have the random person who was really successful early on. They put everything in at the right time and just everything worked out for them. But that is not the norm. And I think that that's something that's important to understand. I love that it's possible, but you need to be realistic too, so that you are more likely to be successful. I think that when you try, you're like, I mean, somebody could just win the lottery too, but that can't be your business plan, is to get lucky. Like, you have to work, you have to plan on it, maybe everything being harder for you, and figure out how to make that work, I think, is a better way to go. Let's see. Princess Peach said, do you have any tips for a younger teen artist to start professionally in colored pencil during COVID? eBay? I mean, if you're looking to sell, you could try eBay and maybe Etsy. I never did like Etsy for selling. I like to buy stuff on Etsy. I just don't sell on Etsy. But that may be a good way, because you don't have to go anywhere. You can sell from home. So I would say give that a try. I mean, I don't know what their rules are. You may have to have your parents involved, because selling, when as a minor, that's going to be something you need to research. But that may be a possibility to have your parents help you with. Jason said, wow, my mom has a hard time learning how to use the computer well. computer well, and now I have to spend a lot of time working through things with her. Luckily, my mom is good with it. Is Nick doing yes, Nick has been doing live streams. He just had one on Tuesday. Erica said, I know you get a lot of requests, but I would love to see a video of you experimenting with pastel matte, watercolor pencils, and pastel matte with pan pastels, underlaying, etc. Yeah, I definitely want to try it with those. Sarah said, if you were only able to do one task on a particular day, painting, video editing, writing for your website, what would you do? It depends on the day. Like, there's no way for me to answer that because I have like certain days that I have to do one of those things. Like yesterday, I didn't get to paint because I had to work on my website. Like I had a lot of website work to do. It wasn't my first choice. I would have rather painted, but that's just, it needed to be done. So it's not like a set, it's different from day to day. I guess my brain doesn't wrap around it on what I want to do. It wraps around it more as this needs to be done. And that's what I have to do. And yesterday it was my website. How do you organize your pencils, by brand or color? By brand and then color. I have a different box for each brand. Joseph said the foremost fish has Homer Simpson lips. I call them Instagram model lips. Skylar said Botox looks like my clownfish. Haha, dude, put that on a t-shirt. You look like my clownfish. Oh yeah, I don't really get I mean, we saw it a lot in California, but the level, like some of these girls, the models, they've gone so far with their lips. It's like, that looks inhuman. You don't look human. Do what makes you feel good. I'm glad that we have the option. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I'm scared sometimes. I'm like, what is that? That does not look natural. Princess Beach said, I miss you on the Sharpened Artist Colored Pencil podcast. Thank you. Sarah said, do you use your yellow pencils? I never understood why every color pencil set has lots of yellows that look the same and only a few grays. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I do use them, but not that. I mean, you can see I use them up here, but not that often. What music do you listen to? I love One Direction. I don't even know if I've ever heard One Direction. I mostly listen to, I have a radio station on Pandora that it's called the Mumford & Sons radio station, but I usually skip when Mumford & Sons comes on. It's got like a lot of folk music. I love that style. Like, I'm trying to think of some of the bands on there that I like. Radical Face, I love. Gosh, I'm trying to think of some of them on there. Of Monsters and Men, love them. Who else? I know I listen to a lot of that. I love Anberlin. Anberlin's like my favorite band of all time. That's not folk music. I like emo music a lot, believe it or not. Emo music makes me happy. Or screamo. Can't tell you why, because it shouldn't, but it does. So yeah, Anberlin, I would say, is my absolute favorite forever favorite band. I really like Counting Crows. Well, not all of his stuff, but I've been listening to a lot of Counting Crows, like the 90s stuff lately. I like that. Eddie Vedder. He is not many musicians go from being as famous as Pearl Jam was in the 90s to making music now and have I love his current stuff. So he's really good. I'm just trying to think through some of the stuff that comes up on my what's it called? My Pandora. I know there's more. Those are just off the top of my head. I listen to a lot of classical. I listen to a lot of Bel Maria. So it's kind of like more of that new agey type classical type sound. I like that a lot. Jason said architects would buy spots to build high resolution high rises condos and start building high rises that can take views away. So selling airspace became a thing. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah, now that makes more sense. Luckily, most of the houses behind me are one story. We've got a 2-story here, and I'm waiting to see what these 3 directly behind me end up being. I'm really hoping for 1 stories. But luckily, I mean, I'm not right up against them. So some houses where you're like you share a back wall, I don't actually share a wall with them. So even then, it's not that bad for me. He's got the top section of his eye there has white and the bottom is the black. Sarah said, I never use anything that's not archival. Cheap oil paint traumatized me so much. My highlights were closer to Naples yellow than to white in 2 years. Oh, that sucks. NSYNC or Backstreet Boys, neither. My sister listened to them. I was never a fan. Princess Peach said, what are your pets' names? I have 4 cats, 2 dogs, a fish, and 15 chickens. I love animals so much. My greyhounds are Gibson and Wade. My fish are, what was I calling her? She's Pudge the fish, and he's Boop Nose. Or Cobra Bubbles, I think is what we originally named him. And then the firefish, I call the Nope Fish. What other pets do I have? We've got Chicken, Nugget, and Sushi for our birds. Who else? My frogs are Murloco, Murky, Captain Cookie, and Sir Finley Murglegirdle, or something like that. I can't say it. They're Murlocs from World of Warcraft. I can't think of other names. Wade's making weird noises over there. He's asleep and his tongue's hanging out and his jaw's doing weird things. Yeah, I don't know who I'm missing on animal names. Kimberly said, I love when you respond respectfully with a nod. That's I don't know what you're talking about. My brain is just not always up to date with the chat is the problem. Cat's Art Pick said, your clownfish are cute. Thank you. Kimberly said, you don't love Pearl Jam Blast? Oh, I do love Pearl Jam. I just don't, that's what was my point. Like, to be as good as he was and then have the new stuff still be that enjoyable. That's what you don't see that often, where somebody is like, has a very distinct, very famous band and then they go off on their own and it's still that good. Like, that was my whole point. No, I love Pearl Jam. Let's see. Skylar said, yes, Lilo and Stitch. Oh, yes, I love Lilo and Stitch. That's like my favorite Disney movie, I think. That and The Little Mermaid. Skylar said, oops, caps lock. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and get some highlights while we're here, and then that can dry while I do some more detail work. But let's actually wait. I want to do the black first. So here, I don't know which one's going to show up better. The black, or let's try the nightshade in purple. Let's see which one looks better. See, I'm always telling you guys, don't worry about, like, people will message me, I need to know what color you're using. I need to know exactly the pencil. No, you don't. I don't even know what color I'm using. I'm going to try one, made a few brush or pencil strokes. Did I like it? I don't know. Will I like this better? Let's find out really quick. Oops, too sharp. Nope, I like the black better. So that's all it is. Like, you're going to experiment. Don't get so caught up in this, I need you to tell me always what to do. No, you're not going to progress that way. You have to be willing to take a chance, take a risk. Like, try one, see what worked better, and then go back and try another one. You could try on a scratch piece of paper, or you can try on your artwork itself. I need to make these a bit cleaner. Now I'm burnishing. Now I'm pushing a lot harder to really jam that paper and the pencil into the tooth of the paper. On these areas I want really dark. And we'll do this, then we'll do a few highlights and be done. Actually, there's one more thing that I'm going to do too before the highlights that I always do on clownfish. Even though it's not technically accurate, it will still make them look better. So one of the fun things you get to do as an artist, take some liberties there, making things look better than the actual photo, which is not hard because my photo is not very good at all. Now I am jamming this in there. I'm pushing really hard on these. Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to do is take the blue. Princess said, have you seen Disney's new Lion King remake? I have not. Kimberly said, I love The Little Mermaid too. Ursula was not that evil because Ariel didn't read the contract. I am so with you on that. Oh my God, it's funny that you say that because I'm like, I mean, she made the choice. She kind of set her up to fail, so I'll give her that. But she signed the contract. And then didn't follow through when she lost. I mean, she kind of did. It's just kind of, yeah, that's funny to me that you say that because I've always said the same thing. Like, but she signed, she's the one who agreed to it. she's just, the only thing bad was that Ursula like set her up and put the spell on Eric so he couldn't resist. So there was that. Let's see. Sarah said, what do you think of Soundgarden and Chris Cornell's solo work? I was never super familiar. Like Soundgarden, I was never a huge fan of. I liked some of their stuff, but I wasn't a huge fan, and I'm not sure what his current work, his new stuff or solo stuff sounds like. I mean, he's got a unique voice, but it wasn't my favorite. Like, I just wanted, like he did a collab with Pearl Jam or with Eddie Vedder. I just wanted to listen to that part. So I'm going around the black with the blue. Now, is that on the fish? No, kind of. But it looks nice. And it's something that I often do. Like, let's say I'm doing a copper banded butterfly. I'm usually going to put some extra lines in there in between those stripes or those definite, like, hard color shifts. Not because it's really there in the photo, but it really looks nice. And then this blue, we'll throw that up there a little bit more in the flowers too. This blue I used up in, well, I'll put more. I think I used a lighter blue, but we'll use that around. And what I'll probably do is have a final day of this prep, since I'm kind of combining multiple photos and turning this into a big surreal piece. I think the last day I'll probably go through with just the blue pencil and like tie everything in a bit better. Sarah said, are we getting your playlist? Sounds great. Is there a way for me to share my playlist? I don't even know. I never log in. I have it go through the Amazon device that I don't want to say the thing and have it come up on, but I could definitely. Why is Sammy continuously saying they're going to send me money? Don't send me money. You can buy some merch. Let's see. I don't want freebies. I want you guys to, and actually I think that person, I don't know why they keep saying that, is getting weird, but I would rather you guys get something for your money. Also, that kind of brings up, that's kind of an interesting thing to talk about while we finish this up, art scams. You're going to get that a lot. If you have an art website or whatever else, you'll have, it's very common for somebody to send you, and I'll give you a tip on how you can find out for sure if it's a scam. You'll get people who comment and be like, this is the big one, my anniversary is coming up and my wife loves your work and we want to spend $2,000, or he'll give you a point. Like, this is how much I want to spend. I have had one time somebody give me, actually the recent one, gave me her budget on like, what do you have in this price range? But normally that is not how it works. Normally if somebody is like, this is, my wife loved your work and I'm going to send you give me your address so I can send you a check. That's my favorite. Like, don't cash that check. Don't give them your address. But copy and paste, when you get an email and you're like, that sounds too good to be true, copy the email, do copy paste, paste it into Google, and you will see that scam come up again and again. It's an easy way to tell when you're being scammed as an artist. It's a very common scam. So, just throwing that out there. And Kimberly said, yes, always read and understand your contracts. Sarah said, I didn't listen much to Chris Cornell either, but I did like the theme he did for a James Bond movie, Casino. I don't know. I never heard it. I'll have to look into that. Tallulah said, good points. Stupid, I know, but I didn't think of it as a different medium since I only ever used the pan pastels along with the pencils, powder blender versus pan pastel question. Oh, you know how much I love you right now for saying which question you were talking about so I can keep up, so I don't feel so stupid not knowing what I'm talking about. Thank you for that. But yeah, it's just a different way of working. So Princess Peach said, this is the first live I have seen. How often do you go live? Love your work so much. Inspiring. Thank you. I go on Fridays at 1 p.m. Central Time, and not Sundays. I never do Sundays. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central Time. And apparently I don't know what day it is. Sammy says, wait, I can buy merch. Yeah, there's merch. There should be a link in the video description. And then YouTube should, maybe I probably don't have it pinned. Oh, can I change it? Oh, I can change it. Also, I've never used my pencils. They've all been in my mouth. Let's see. Kimberly said, I love Henry Cavill as the Witcher. Or do you love Henry Cavill as the Witcher or Superman? So I wasn't a huge fan of the Superman movie. Like, I've never been I can't stand Lois Lane. She is the most irritating character in any Superman, and it kind of ruins Superman. I just want her. Can somebody just take her out? Can the villain just take her out early on and not like go save her? Because I can't stand her attitude in any. But anyway, so I was never a big Superman fan. But I loved The Witcher so much. Like, I cannot wait for the next ones. he did such a good job with that. Like he played, I loved it. I loved that one so much. So much so that I went and got some of the Witcher books. Like there are a series of short stories on Audible, and the narration on that is amazing too. So I haven't listened to all of them. It's just kind of like a here and there I'll listen to them, but yes, loved him as that. Tallulah said, I know how it feels. I'm on the crappy memory team too. We need a t-shirt that says that I'm proud member of the crappy memory team. Skylar said, it's Friday, lady. Lachri. Yeah, Friday, 1 p.m. Central Time. Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Central Time. But yeah, Sammy, the merch is new, and that's listed below. You can check that out. Well, new-ish. I had some merch before, but I finally started putting some real effort into it. Okay, let's do the white highlights. So I'm going to use a synthetic hard liner brush. We already shook up this, so most of it, yeah, it still just needs a little bit more. It's starting to settle, and I need my titanium white. It's the colored pencil titanium white from Brush and Pencil, and I will mix mine in the lid. Lay down, Gibson. Gibson, lay down. Okay, you could stretch, but then you need to lay down. I don't know why he's so afraid of this cart. It's never touched him. Like if I ran over his paw at some point, I could understand. But he is and he's getting worse. Like he's getting jumpier and jumpier. Anytime I move it, he flips out and he's going to hurt himself because he will slide on the tile. Where is my top? I'm missing the top of this. I blend this in. Okay, we'll use the top of a pan pastel cup. I mean, that'll work. So I normally use a little... Weird. Oh, there it is. Oh, but it's dirty. Condiment cup lid, but I'm going to mix mine in this for today. And what I'm going to do is put in a little bit of this, and make sure if you've got the powder blender kit. I've accidentally tried to mix powder blender in with this. It doesn't work. We want the powder blender container and this look the same, so it's really easy to grab the wrong one. And I'm going to pour a little bit. I know you guys can't see. I'll show you in a second. I'm going to pour a little bit of my touch-up texture. I just put way too much. I'm going to have to definitely put more. Got to balance this out. If you put too much of the touch-up texture, it's too translucent. Now, you don't want to mix a lot. I'm mixing too much because I screwed up and poured too much in. It dries really quick. So if you mix up a bunch, there's no way to save it. And some people will think, well, I can just put water in it and make it like with acrylics, make it last longer, right? No, it's no longer archival then. Oh, I made this way too thin. I hate wasting product. And I'm just stirring these together until the consistency is about what I would want with a liner brush with acrylic paint. Mine is going to be too thin. I'll probably have to put a couple coats to get it thick enough. But anyway, so I just mix it into that and see how it's running. That is too, I spilled a little too much of the touch-up texture in there. So now I can come through and get some of these highlights really to stand out that they just weren't going to stand out that much with colored pencil alone, especially on toned paper. And if I go a little too bright on any of this, it's no big deal. When it dries, I could go over it with colored pencil. Usually I let it dry about 10 minutes, usually. A lot of little dots. A little too strong there, so I'll just dab that with my finger to tone it down. Now my thing, and this is just what I do stylized wise, whenever I paint fish, the end of the fins are translucent. And so what I do is just do little dots. So it's like the light is catching the translucent part of the fins. And again, that's more of a stylized thing, not something you're necessarily seeing in your photographs. Now, here's the thing you want to be careful of. You may find photos of fish online, and if they have lots of dots on them, white dots, you need to check that fish and make sure that they really are supposed to have those dots, because sometimes people will post photos online in like Pixabay or whatever, and the fish is covered in parasites and ick, and you would not want to include that in your painting. So you want to be careful, like here as I dot stuff to build up some of this texture, how I'm doing that it's not looking like polka dots, so I'm not giving a marine velvet or Brooklynella or ick or one of those. So another thing to be aware of with this stuff is it is not flexible. So I wouldn't want to roll this into a tube to ship. I mean, I'm not going to ship it. I'm keeping this one, but I wouldn't want to do that. I want to make sure this stays flat. I'm going to add some of the dark areas around his gills here. And again, no, you cannot use a gel pen. It is not going to be archival. I mean, you could use it. It's just not going to be archival. So be aware of that. If you're selling your originals, you don't want to sell something that's not, you know, good for long term. This is I'm going over a wax and oil-based pencil, so I need to use a product that is archival on top of wax and oil-based. You don't want to use like acrylic paint or anything that's water-based, because that's not going to be archival. So that is a big deal. I'm barely putting any pressure here. Remember, whenever you're painting, the harder you push with your brush, the thicker the line is going to be. And any of this that's too bright, it's no big deal. I can go right back over it with my colored pencils and tone it down when it dries. To stay on the whole end at 3 o'clock thing, I probably should have only done one clownfish. The high contrast is going to make them look shinier or more sparkly. So if you're painting like a metal object or something that's supposed to look kind of wet, sparkles. They make things look really shiny. Water, anything like that, sparkles. Or, you know, get that high contrast for the sparkles. Like there, that I'm not going to leave straight white. I'll go over it with like a yellow or a light orange. Or like yellowy orange. I love this product so much. Like, it changed so much for me on how I work. Oh, I need a whole dark area here. How I work with colored pencils. It really opened up a lot of doors for me. Like I said before, I didn't do surreal stuff with colored pencil because that needs to be planned out better beforehand. And usually when I do surreal stuff, I just keep adding stuff to it. And I wasn't really able to do that very well before this product. Now, it really opened up a lot of things for me. So she's considered a helmeted Picasso, and that's what it looks like. She's wearing a helmet that way, like she's almost masked. Or she's a more extreme Picasso. Okay, I need to make sure that I'm done with this before I put it away, because it's going to dry really quickly. It's not something I can eat. I can come back if I make a new batch, but I can't just do that with this. Let's make sure this little green area stands out well. I'll have to go back over that with a green pencil to make sure it shows up. And you want to make him look shiny, not like he has ick. So see how I've kind of grouped those together? And that's a big deal if you're wanting to sell your work. Let's say you want, other marine artists to buy your work. Or not marine artists, marine keepers, fish keepers, reef keepers. That would be your target audience. You want to make sure that you're making something that they're not going to look at that and go, that fish is diseased, right? So do a little bit of research there to make sure. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time getting sales when you're selling fish that look sick. Again, some of this I'm going to go back over with pencil, so it's not going to stay that white. And this is some of this too, I may come back through when I was saying like the last day I may just do touch-ups and share how I do those touch-ups. That may be something that we do a lot of on that day too. Where, go back through with these, like I can even add more highlights to the grapes as I need to, or think it might, to balance stuff out. Because the overall balance is going to change as I keep adding to this anyway. So I may need something to be a little bit more bold, a little bit more pushed back. We'll have to see how that goes. I need to, before I go on top of this with some of the colored pencil, do I need any more? I need to go rinse this brush out so I don't ruin it. And then we've got a few more details and we will be done. This is definitely going longer than I anticipated, so I apologize. And I'm just rinsing that with water in the sink. Okay. And we've got a few more little areas. Like he's got some black that comes all the way up here that I missed. Actually, his fin came down here with white more, that I kind of missed that too. This fish, the little black storm, he was so tiny, tiniest little baby. Oh my God, he was adorable. He's gotten really big. He eats well. My God, does this fish eat well. And I am burnishing here. I'm pushing pretty hard with this pencil, so it's getting on there really dark, but I don't really need to do any other shading on that, so I don't need to worry about preserving the tooth of the paper there. Same thing, pushing pretty hard there. Oh, I forgot to get the white in her cheek. I'll have to pull that out when we do touch-ups later. This should be a lot brighter than what it is. Her little gang tats. Clownfish, if you didn't know, are extremely aggressive. I always wear gloves, like these gloves that come up like all the way up to my armpit pretty much, for when I do water changes, which is mainly to keep any chemicals from my hands out of the water. But it's a good thing because these guys will kick your butt if you put your hand in the tank. They've got a lot of personality though. They also, like, they beg me for food. Like, they are kind of like dogs in that. Fish are funny because they'll recognize people. So like if my husband goes in the room, they're not really familiar with him because he doesn't go to my office that often. So they're more likely to hide, but they see me and I'm the feeding lady. Like, they recognize individual people. They're really neat. Like, people always say like fish have a memory of 5 seconds or whatever, which doesn't totally make sense because they also recognize people and they definitely, like, you can teach them things. So I'm not sure where that comes from because a 5-second memory doesn't make sense considering how many tricks you can teach a fish. I've not taken the time to teach mine anything other than eat. They think that's good for now. And I guarantee you, I'm going to make adjustments on these guys once we get more filled in, and we're already half an hour over budget, over time for today. So I'm going to call that it for today's stream. Next Friday, well, I'm going to continue with colored pencil. I've got a whole page of stuff that I can fill in with this. I don't know what else is going next. I have no idea. Let me get caught up in a couple of these questions and we'll wrap this up. Arm going up. Okay, Princess Peach said, what is your favorite movie or show? Mine is Pirates of the Caribbean and Maze Runner. Oh, I don't know. What is my favorite? I watched Harry Potter a lot. Well, I mean, I used to leave it at my old studio. I had a TV. I don't have a TV in here, but I used to leave it just playing all the time. Favorite TV. Oh gosh, what is my favorite? I can't think of any. I'll get back to you on that because I'm sure I have favorites. I just am like, I have a lot of stuff I like, but I don't know if I have like a favorite. I'm more like, I can give you favorite books, but I don't really watch that much TV or shows or anything, so I don't have that much. Like, I really like Umbrella Academy, loved The Witcher. So like I said, I have a lot of things I like, but I don't, is that a two-story? That is, isn't it? Dang it. Oh no, that is the two-story. It's the same two-story. Never mind. I'm really hoping for one stories behind me. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I can watch Harry Potter all day, forever. Like, I can just always have it playing in the background. So that's definitely one. I'm not sure what else. Books would be my bigger thing. Kimberly said, Friday the 13th, guess who's playing Jason? I don't even know where to begin on guessing that. Let's see. Cat's Art Pick said, Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils are $189 at Cheap Joe's right now. Blick is selling them for $290 each. My pencils are on their way from Cheap Joe's. Oh, maybe I should check that out. I mean, I'm pretty well stocked on pencils right now, but you know, I like deals. Did you watch Dark? It's a German TV show and it's awesome. I have not. Like I said, I don't really watch TV. There's very little that my husband will watch movies. Like, he is a big fan of, he watches everything. He previews and then tells me if I'm going to like something because he knows. Huge bonus to be married for 20 years. You know what each other like. So I don't even, he just previews everything. He's like, well, I don't have to waste my time watching stuff that I wouldn't enjoy. He knows what I'm going to like beforehand. Very convenient. Erica said, I thought yesterday was Friday all day. I was waiting all day for your tutorial. Oh no, felt stupid. I also don't paint, but I watch all your videos to go to sleep every night. So I'm boring you to sleep. That's awesome. Cat's Art Pig said, thought it was good to let you know about the sale at Cheap Joe's. Have a good weekend, Lisa. Thank you. I may have to check them out. I've never ordered from them because every time I go, I never can find enough stuff to get free shipping. Like, they just don't have, like, their selection, and I haven't looked for in years, so maybe it changed. But a couple of years ago when I looked, why does my face look shiny? It doesn't feel like shiny. It's cold. Like, sorry. There's something wrong with me. Apparently a shiny face. Let's see. Colin said, what paper are you using right now? This is the Canson Mi-Teintes in gray. Skylar said, I don't know why I'm saying this, but if you haven't, give Billy English a listen. I know that name. Why do I know? Is that the Smashing Pumpkin guy? Or, I don't know. I don't know names. I'm really bad with names. Princess Peach said, is titanium white gouache paint archival? It should be. I mean, I guess it would depend on the brand, but I mean, it should be. No, you mean overcolored pencils? Absolutely not, because that is a water-based, assuming that's what you meant. The gouache it's just opaque watercolor. So no, you wouldn't want to put that over your colored pencil. The only product that you can like paint white on top, like what I've done here, is this one, the touch-up texture titanium white mixture. That's going to be it. The everything else is water-based. Like, it's nothing else is intended. This product is intended for this and intended to be light fast. So that's that. George said, will you be adding some fish bubbles to go with the round grapes? I might. That actually would be kind of a neat thing to put somewhere in here. I like the idea. Princess Peach said, where's the cheapest place to get touch-up texture and white powder? Forgot the actual name. Guess I'm part of the Bad Memory group. Welcome. We'll send you your name badge of Bad Memory Club because none of us will remember it. I don't know what the cheapest is. Probably the same everywhere. Check dickblick.com and you can check brushandpencil.com. I'm trying to think where else? Those are in the US who you would check. I'm not sure. It depends on where you're at otherwise. What do you think of using Spectrafix workable, fixable, and colored pencil work? I find it helps in sealing the previous layer and adds tooth back to the paper for many additional layers. I don't find it to be as good as the touch-up texture. Okay, so you've got brush and pencil makes their touch-up texture. That is what I use on Powder Blender. When I work normally, I don't really need to add tooth because the way that I work is light layers and I slowly build up. So I never lose the tooth of the paper if I do it right. If I'm working, you know, it's not really a problem. Now, if I'm working on sanded paper, I want to seal it with something. So it could be Spectrafix, or it could be, if I'm working with Powder Blender, it will always be the touch-up texture. I don't think I have any over. Do I have any over here? No, I don't. So though either, I mean, you can use it if you want, but I've never found the need. I don't need more tooth normally. I mean, I talk about it because I know it's a problem that a lot of people run into, but I use such a light hand as I build up. I don't really run out of tooth. It's not a problem for me just because I've been using colored pencil for 25 years. So I've gotten used to, you know, how much pressure to add. But so I know it's a problem that a lot of people run into, but it's not really for me. So I can't say it's something that I personally do because I just don't need to. Unless I'm working on sanded paper, that's different than I'm going, you know, whether it be with, if I'm working with pan pastels and I'm going to use Spectrafix there. If I'm using Powder Blender, then it's going to be the touch-up texture. Yeah, that's the right one. And Wade is now on his back. Let's see. Whoop, that scrolled too far. Trying to get through these really quick before we wrap this up. Princess Peach, what are your thoughts on tracing? Tracing is a tool. Tracing is not an instant win button. If somebody doesn't know how to draw and they trace, it shows in their finished product. So people think, oh, you're cheating. No, you're not cheating. You can't cheat in art. It's a tool. The only thing you can cheat in art is if you're violating somebody else's copyright. So you're like copying someone's work and claiming it as your own. Or if, what was the other? Oh, I would say worrying about things being archival is a concern for me. But you can't cheat in art. That's not like a thing. So there's no problem with that. What I have found in teaching for 20-something years, the students that would trace, like I have them practice tracing. So let's say you are trying to draw a rose. Have you trace it for 10, 12 times? By the 13th time, you should be able to freehand that near perfect. It should be almost exact because you're forcing your brain to see things accurately as they really are. It is such a wonderful tool in teaching you how to freehand things. Now, the goal is not to forever depend on tracing. If someone like me, like when I trace, I used a projector to get this on there because I don't have time to sit and draw it out. I just need to get it on there real quick. So for me, it saves time, but I can freehand it. You would never know the difference. No one can tell what I have traced versus freehanded. It looks the same. Doesn't matter if it's a portrait. It doesn't matter if it's a flower. You will not be able to tell the difference unless I tell you. So I am all for whatever saves me time. But for those who are learning, I want them, my students, I would always say both trace and freehand. Do both. You want to, by tracing, you're teaching your brain to see things as they are. You're seeing things accurately. You're going to start noticing details that weren't there because a lot of times when you draw things, like, okay, I'm going to draw an eye. Your brain's like, I got this. I know what an eye looks like. We don't even need to look at that reference photo. So what you're trying to do is override your brain telling you you've got it, and you're actually like tracing and noticing. You're going to notice details you didn't notice before. But then again, you're going to go, like I said, trace it a few times and then freehand. Trace a few times, then freehand. So your goal is to be able to freehand perfectly. But it's a really good tool in getting students to learn to break out of your brain overriding what that reference photo is telling you. It teaches you to pay attention to the details. It teaches you to notice things in that reference photo that you would not have otherwise noticed very quickly. So that is my attitude there. There's my thought on that. But like I said, if somebody can't freehand and they trace something, you can tell in the finished painting. It's not like they instantly are, it's obvious. And I bring that up because the attitude, people are like, oh, you cheated, you traced. If I couldn't draw, it would be obvious in that end result. You can't tell the difference. So, or you would be able to tell the difference. Imagination Art said, if you like period series, you should check out Outlander. The first 3 seasons are on Netflix now. I should. Sylvinka said, if you like Stranger Things, you're going to love Dark. It's more mysterious, science-based time travel without being stupid and more dark and screwed up. Interesting. I loved the first 2 seasons of Stranger Things. I never got through the 3rd. It was so ridiculous. Like the cheesy, what is it? The patriarchy and the misogyny. They're so anti-woman. And I'm just like, Can you just tell a story without being super cheesy? Like they so overdid the, I just wasn't comfortable with it. I'm like, I believe the monsters more than I believe that you're trying to push this evil man thing on me. I'm not one who buys into that. Okay, to be fair, it was worse in the 80s, but I mean, they hyped that up so much that I couldn't, like, I never finished season 3. I'm like that, and just the storylines, and so much of it was just getting to the point of being cheesy instead of fun. Like the first 2 seasons I loved, and then it got to where I felt like they're trying too hard on certain things, and I was just like, I'm just not interested. So I didn't finish it. Maybe I need to go back and finish it. I love the first 2. Not a fan of the second. Anyway, Alana said, I need a t-shirt that says Bad Memory Club. Let me write that down as a possibility. We may need to make a Bad Memory Art Club. Because I think we all have, I'm going to blame the paint thinner. We've just all been smelling paint thinner too long. It's not really, but that's what I always joke. I always tell people, like random people who know I'm an artist, but they aren't artists themselves. I'm like, I smell too many paint fumes all day. Whoop, that just jumped. Oh my gosh, I'm so far behind. No, okay, I'm actually getting caught up. DJ said, thanks, Lisa, The Art of Joseph and Nick. Oh, by the way, check out Nick and Joseph's channels. They both have art channels here on YouTube. Nick's even been live streaming some colored pencil stuff. You definitely want to check that out. Links in the description. Princess Peach said, love this live stream. We'll be sure to tune in this Wednesday. Didn't know you did lives until today. Oh, yay. Princess Peach also said, thank you. I trace my bigger projects. I am always working on freehanding. Some people hate tracing, though, and always feel bad, even though I know I'm just using a tool. What's a tool? No matter what you do, there are people who are going to tell you shouldn't use erasers. What? Why? There are people who are going to tell you shouldn't use certain paintbrushes, certain paint, there is always going to be somebody who's telling you you're doing it wrong. And I think what they're doing is justifying to themselves why their work doesn't look as good as the next person. They'll look at they traced, that's why theirs is better than mine. No, theirs is better than yours because they practiced more than you. Big difference. So, you have a lot of people who, I think, going back to what I was talking about earlier, everyone wants an excuse for their failures instead of, how about I figure out how to win? So instead of looking for that, and that's what they're going to do. And they're going to tell everyone else, oh, you're doing it wrong because you're doing the thing they're not doing. And if you're not doing it my way, you're doing it wrong. And if you're doing it not the way I'm doing, but you're doing it better, I'm not going to look at it as, hey, your way's actually better. I'm going to look at it as, well, you're wrong. Yours isn't good anymore. Like people want excuses and not to actually succeed. Anyway, on that note, your tongue is hanging out, Wade. His tongue is like all the way out the side. Yeah, there's no way I could get the camera for you to see that. But anyway, I'll see you guys Wednesday. I will have a video. I don't know what we're doing for next week's edited. See, look, 2 weeks in a row. I had it in edit. God, I need a nap. That's what I'm doing after this. Lunch and a nap. That will be there next week. Some edited video. I haven't decided what our day to release that is. And then, of course, Wednesday night, I'll see you. I have no idea what we're doing Wednesday night. Not a clue. We'll have to figure that out. I'll see you guys next